All right, good Wednesday morning, everybody. It is a hump day. Gary and Matt with Caleb Henry from Husker Max sitting in to help you get over the hump. And everybody, here you go. I'm going to save you a little money. All right. We have these financial shows on another station across the hall. I'm going to save people a lot of money because your cooling bill, your power bill has probably been through the roof in the last week or so. Open the windows, turn off the AC. It is really, really nice outside. It actually is 69 degrees, Caleb.
Gary Sharp is not a financial advisor. Any advice you hear on 1620 The Zone is not supported by management.
I'm looking out for the people. It's so we had a storm roll through overnight here in Omaha, and there's still people that have power out.
There was some good lightning I was seeing as I drove up here. It was a good light show.
Yeah. You know what? It's good to hear people that drive up from Lincoln and know where they're going, like the interstate, because there's a guy that first, when he drove from Lincoln to Omaha, was confused because it was dark. He didn't know where to go on Interstate 80 from Lincoln to Omaha. He currently is on vacation.
You get on the interstate and go straight.
Caleb.
Did he go to Kearney?
Caleb, I tried to explain it, and he's like, well, with there no street lights on the interstate, I couldn't see. I didn't know where I was going.
You stay on the road.
Yeah, it was.
Is he?
It was. It probably should have been a sign of things to come.
That concerns me because I grew up an hour away from the interstate.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. He lived his whole life driving through the rich neighborhoods of whichever side of Chicago he's from.
Catching strays on vacay.
But we drove an hour between seeing streetlights, okay? Like, you get on the highways outside of Omaha and Lincoln.
Exactly. So I bet you did see a light show, but we had rain roll through, and there's still some rain in the area. But the temperature, which has been a fat man's weight loss paradise for the last few days, it's summertime, it's hot, is actually cooling down. It is like really, really nice outside. So even if it's just a brief respite over the next couple of days, turn off the AC, open up the house. You'll love it. Sleep that way. It's okay. Some of us only ran the air conditioning over the last 4 days for maybe 15, 16 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And I survived. Like my grandpa and grandma from back in the day when they didn't know what AC was. So there you go. There's my financial tip to start off the morning.
They heard AC and went, and your grandpa would have been talking about something electric.
Probably. Rest in peace, Paul Demuth and Cleon. Not to be confused with the Einsteins or anything like that.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so I have to add, one of the things I was thinking about driving in this morning is I'm sad about my baseball team. Diehard Cub fan. Got a big series in Milwaukee. Have lost the first 2 games. Rhino passes away, but they were really sloppy last night. And of all teams, are losing to the Brewers, who is like death by paper cuts. Like, there's nothing really special about the Brewers. They got a guy that they get from the White Sox who was terrible, and all of a sudden he's the white Greg Vaughn. His name's Andrew Vaughn. He had a grand slam yesterday. Cubs were sloppy. They couldn't get base hits with runners in scoring position. They are going to lose this series. They might get swept for the first time in 2025 of all teams against Milwaukee. So I'm sad about the first 2 games. I'm not mad. I'm sad.
Mm-hmm.
And then because the Major League Baseball trade deadline is 5 p.m. on Thursday, and fingers crossed, the Cubs will be quite active. Maybe add a Suarez, maybe add a Merrill Kelly, maybe do a little deal with the Diamondbacks. I got up to go to the bathroom at 2:30, like us old people do. And I checked my Twitter to see if Jeff Passan had tweeted anything out about the Cubs in a trade that happened overnight. And all I could think about this morning is because I hope other Cub fans have the same response that I do. What would life be without sports fandom? Like, can you guys imagine? We all have our particular teams, whether we root for them and we're diehards, or we cover them, and so you like stories and you're around it all the time. Can you guys imagine if what life would be without sports fandom?
Well, it would change a lot of our identity, you know? And that was one of the things when we were talking yesterday, as you did a good job and so eloquently talking about Rhino, and I think for a lot of you guys and Cubs fans, you were hoping that the team was going to show up a little bit different yesterday for him.
Yeah, three times, runner on third, less than 2 outs, Zippo runs.
But so much of people's identity is wrapped up in, oh, you're from Nebraska. What's Dylan Raiola going to do this fall? Like that those were the questions I was getting on a plane from people I'd never met before. I'm just saying, oh, you're from Nebraska. I didn't tell them I covered the team. Just, hey, we're flying by. Are you from there? Yeah, I live in Lincoln. Oh, hey, how are the guys going to be this year? And you should just automatically know what that means, because that's the identity.
Yeah.
And so you talk with Cubs fans. Obviously, there's something like monumental that happened in Cubs fandom over the last couple of days. You talk with people of really any college town, of any NFL town. Like, those are the fandoms. That's your identity. If you don't have that, I'm going to be going through a different kind of crisis than when you go through, okay, I'm no longer an athlete. What does life mean for me? Because the one thing you can carry throughout your life, whether you're a high school student, college student, you just got a job, you just started a family, whatever it is, that fandom is kind of one of the biggest consistencies you have from the time you're, well, for us with our daughter, like one of her first clothes, like it was all Husker stuff. And if I get my way, and hopefully this is the way the winds continue to blow, she'll be a Husker fan for the rest of her life. She'll have that longer than she'll have me. You know?
That's true. That's true. I some people will say that it's unhealthy to like be obsessed with sports, but I honestly don't know what it would be like without sports fandom. Whether your team is doing well or not, like to watch. I don't like to watch a game and not have any vested interest whatsoever. Like, it's just on. Because even a game that doesn't involve your team, you like watch, but you're probably thinking, okay, how's this impact my team? Or you watch because you're a fan of the sport. I don't know. I was thinking about that driving in, because I'm gonna get on a group text message. Somebody was busting my balls about the Cubs, and I thought, well, what if I just wasn't a fan? What if I was just like, you know what? Hey, it was just it was Tuesday yesterday. They played in Milwaukee. You know what? There were a bunch of baseball games on. Like, I'm thinking, like, as a Braves fan, Acuna is going on the IL. They've had a miserable season. He got hurt last night in the game down in Kansas City. Like, that impacts your mood this morning.
But you get Bryce Matthews.
Yeah. I'm glad I didn't have him in my fantasy team. I thought about picking him up. I thought I would ride the wave.
Then I picked him up in time to get 2 home runs.
Well, good on you.
And then I was like, all right, that was good for that week. Yeah. But no, it's your fan. It's community. That's what it is. And you think back to people say, this is what things used to be like here in our America. Like, you had your community, and fandom carries that over. And especially now that you've got social media, that community is much larger than it used to be. Yeah. And you interact with so many people on social media. You listen to sports talk radio. You watch TV. We're following Jeff Passan to see who's getting traded, what's happening, because these impact your community, and it's wrapped up in our identity, but also it's something that feels like it's not purpose. Like, purpose isn't the right word, but it's something that you look forward to. And whether it's championships or it's, as people have had a really good project going over the course of this summer, the groin kick era of Nebraska football, like those types of things, that's your community. Those are the things that you go through together that bond you closer through the good and the bad.
I can't imagine life without sports fandom, because we're about ready to go through it around here. We're going to talk a conversation I had yesterday about hype and reality and all that kind of stuff. We'll get into as we roll till 10 on a Hump Day edition. Jake is in for Jimmy. Caleb's in for vacationing Matt. I'm Gary. Coming up a little bit later, Brandon Walker or John Walker. Brandon Walker.
Whoa.
Now that'd be good to talk college football with B-Dub. John,
who hates Iowa, by the way.
He does. He does, which will be might be uncomfortable for Fox. I think they're going to use Brandon a little bit more because he is like all in on college football. Mm-hmm. That could make it a little uncomfortable for the Big Ten partner that Fox has now that they've partnered up with Barstool, or it may actually be good.
I think that's good. I think it's like if you're going to go that direction, at least lean into whatever their personalities are. Because you don't make that deal to kind of tiptoe around whatever it is. If somebody hates Iowa, let them come on and hate Iowa.
Is this just going to be a fall of the ESPN/SEC versus Fox/Big Ten? Is that all it's going to be? I mean, it's just weekly is just taking shots at each conference?
Hasn't it been that way for a while?
Yeah, but it seems like it's ramped up even more.
Because now you add the big personalities. You've added Pat on one side and you're getting Barstool on the other. But
everybody's choosing their fighter. Like you that's your partner, and you are promoting their agenda. We've had more promotion of agendas on each conference side in the offseason than we ever have. And with the looming expansion of the playoff, it might be a turnoff to have both networks that beat the drum for their major conference, but to the point where they beat it in the ground. And they're like, you know what? I'll check in at 11 when kickoff happens.
Exactly. We have dumbed down pregame shows. Like the pregame shows now.
Did they used to be smart?
They used to be entertaining, and I felt like when they went through and they did all the features, and they still do the features and they still do the picks. But I remember before, like the last maybe 5 years, 6, so we'll just say pre-COVID, I felt like I turned it on and I learned something about the teams.
Okay.
Without it being, all right, how dumb and fratty can we make this for as many segments as possible? Well, and there is absolutely a place for dumb and fratty on a college football Saturday.
Or on a morning show in Omaha. Wait till we get to the WNBA. I think what happened I think what it changed is when ESPN went to 3 hours. Like in 2 hours, you got the nuts and bolts.
Oh, yeah, they're trying to fill more time.
And they added 3 hours because of the popularity. And so you have the janky segments that they have. And I haven't watched, since Urban Meyer came back, I haven't watched as much. I liked the first Urban Meyer before he went to the NFL, and then he came back. I thought he was a lot better. But it comes down to what do you want out of your pregame shows? And is your audience going to be pro SEC all the time, or is it going to be the Big Ten guy that dabbles in game day because he wants to be able to defend his conference with everything that's going on, even though you have two of the guys that are on set played at the two programs that carry the Big Ten? Or are you going to watch Fox because more than likely they're going to be at a Big Ten venue 90% of the time? I think that's what we're headed to, and I don't think that's good for the sport or the viewer, or what both of those programs are trying to accomplish in terms of drawing in eyeballs.
Well, and didn't you have, wasn't Saban has been on before, going on game day and like trying to pump up. No, this is why Alabama should be in and ranked this way. And it's like, well, that's not what I want that program to be. I want that program to be fun, a little bit of educational, but don't defend just that league. Defend college football. Be entertaining about college football. But it is very much, if you watch ESPN, you're going to get SEC. If you watch Fox, you're getting Big Ten.
John Walker will join us coming up at 9. Saw John last week at Omaha Men's Basketball Open practice. So we'll pick his brain. We'll talk a little Mavs basketball, who the news became official yesterday. They opened their season, the opening day of college basketball, which I think is 96 days away. Omaha will go to the Pentagon in Sioux Falls. They'll take on Murray State. Maybe down the road, that will be a conference game in the Missouri Valley. But that'll be at the Pentagon. It's the Field of 68 tournament. So John will join us coming up at 9. Interesting to get his thoughts on what he saw with the Mavs. Also, some other things involving Creighton, who may or may not be here in the fall. Also, Brandon Vogel from counterread.com. He'll stop by at about 9:40. That's the lineup brought to you by the Rooferees at John Higgins Weather Guard. It is another practice day in Lincoln. There is no media availability today. So
nope, we'll get some. We'll get some tomorrow, and then Big Red Preview Saturday is when and that's the first day that they can go pads.
And it's Friday, isn't it? Friday?
Is it Friday?
I think that coincided with the Big Ten Network's tour.
Was it? But yeah, they'll have some of the first pads at least this weekend in front of people live in Memorial Stadium.
So with no media availability today. Holgerson speaks tomorrow. The head coach doesn't speak again until Saturday. Any updates on personnel will be saved until then.
Yes.
Because
other than that, it's trying to track people down on who saw what, who heard what, and there's nothing definitive.
We're not. And here's the thing. Little inside baseball here. It's just I don't know if it's commonplace or it's just an agreement. If you know, any injury discussion, that if you want to touch the third rail, you bring up injuries and talk about injuries. So I'm not. I know that people have asked about Markway. You're not going to hear anything until one of the coaches speaks,
right?
And it doesn't do us any good. I mean, we're just being and there's no definitive thing out there. So I know that's out there. I know a lot of people are asking, but the head coach doesn't speak until the end of the week, and he is the one that addresses injuries unless there is something sent out. So that's what that is.
And I think it would be different if there was a game on Saturday. This wasn't the first week of camp.
Yeah.
Be like, oh, okay, what does this mean to the depth chart, right? Like, we're still, 29 days away from an actual game being
28
played?
tomorrow.
Yeah.
28 tomorrow before Arrowhead. I sense the excitement in the room.
I'm still waking up, okay? I'm still trying to remember what it's like.
You used to do this.
It was
used to be with Jack in the morning.
A year ago, man. And
You've
my
already adjusted.
My commute.
How long did that take?
My commute was 30 seconds, not an hour.
You live that close to KLIN?
Yeah, which was super fun. If the power went off and I was the closest one, and I knew how the engineering worked. Hey, Caleb, can you get over there and fix B1073? Yeah, boss.
For a few years I lived at 46th and O, right around the corner, and I never told anybody because I didn't want to get those calls.
Yeah.
Like, hey, nobody can make it into the station. I know you live around the corner.
You're like, I live in Roca.
Yeah. We had somebody that used to run Coil that lived like a block away from here, and he would never tell anybody because that station would go off the air all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And he'd be like, I'd be here all the time. They'd be like, hey, are you home? Can you walk over to the station and check it out? Yeah, I lived at a house right behind the old Pizza Hut that became an Enterprise rental car. I lived on that street right at 46th and O. Never told anybody. So I was like, yeah, I live way in South Lincoln. I mean, any trouble, it's going to take me a while to get to the station. Good on you for living that close.
Yeah, and it was because I was there so much. It was super convenient.
Yeah, you were there a lot. So how long did it take you to get back to a normal sleep schedule, which we do not have working this schedule?
Like 2 weeks. Like it did not take long to just be like, I'm sleeping until 7 or 8 in the morning. And then you do that for a few days in a row, life is different.
Also, speaking of Dana Holgerson, his son has been hired as part of the Nebraska football program. His son is a former college quarterback who is now part of Nebraska's general manager department. He was hired yesterday as an assistant general manager. So it's the Raiolas and the Holgersons, just hiring the family.
I'm trying to see. Well,
and I don't believe Dylan's sister. She was for a brief time part of the recruiting department. I don't think she's part of it now. She's gotten a different job.
It does. Does Rule's son, while being a student, he does some.
Oh, that's
some
true.
Football stuff.
That's true. Well, wow.
We're big on nepotism here.
Hey,
if it works,
sometimes you're in Iowa City and it works. Sometimes it doesn't.
Like there are different levels to nepotism. Okay. If it's the Skarsgårds and acting, hey, this is a pretty good deal here, guys.
Hey, I mean, Mike Osborne is like, hey, coach, dad, how come I didn't get hired to do something? How come I didn't get to be an offensive analyst on the staff?
Because the staff was pretty good.
Did Callahan's son, who he now works for, he wasn't old enough. Was he? He wasn't. Was he? He was living out in California because he was still in high school. Like he finished his high school career in California. He never was part of his dad's staff at Nebraska, was he?
Well, I would have been
because he high school and straight to college.
Like I was in high school at the when I graduated, I think was around the start of the Pelini era. But that was a weird time because when Callahan took over and changed all the offense, our high school went through a coaching change with our football program too, and brought someone in who immediately installed the West Coast offense. And guess what? our wins went away too, and practices were different. And I was like, oh, I'm living what it's like to be a Cornhusker right now.
Wow. Everything comes back to Nebraska. You can always join the conversation between Caleb and myself. Anything that you hear today that sparks a little interest, because we got lots to talk about here in the middle of the week. The Prairie Flower Zone, the Prairie Flower Casino Zone hotline is open for you at 402-951-1620. You can always send us an email into the Equitable Bank inbox, Gary at 1620thezone.com. If you'd like an email, Caleb, or two, you can give out your email.
I'm trying to remember what I have a work email that I try to shuffle people towards.
Do you still have an NRG Media email?
Yes, I do.
He does.
I do.
Hey, give it out. Let's get it rolling in there.
Well, it was
they haven't shut it down?
They haven't. It was just like Caleb at KLIN.
Okay. Caleb at KLIN.com.
Or you can do calebhenry.huskermax@gmail.
That's a lot.
I know it's a lot, and that's why I put it at the end of the stories, and that gets forwarded to my actual email.
Oh, okay. All right.
I found a workaround to put Husker Max into something without having to have the at Husker Max. You don't got to pay the fees for all that.
You can always tweet at us either at the show Matt or Gary and Matt, or at Gary Sharp 1620, or at Caleb Henry. That is spelled with a K. Those are the ways to get in touch with
and
the
there's
show.
a little I in front of that too.
Yes, we discussed it yesterday. For the longest time, I thought you were Caleb Henry.
What would my if Caleb was my middle name, what would my first name be starting with an I?
Isaiah.
Igor.
Ooh.
I don't know. Nice name.
You got a lot of where you grew up. You got a lot of Igors out there.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a little bit more Eastern European than
It is.
my lineage.
I feel if you met someone named Igor, you would never forget that person. It's a good, memorable name.
That's true.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, Jake, you know a lot of Igors out there in your travels?
No, I just know an album that I like called Igor.
Okay.
That's it. That's what came to my head.
Ian would be a popular name around here. It started with an I. I like Isaiah. Isaiah Caleb Henry. That's a good sports name. You would expect big things if you met an Isaiah Henry.
Isaiah itself is just a solid sports name. Like someone's going to be a decent athlete if they are named Isaiah.
I like that. We will also talk about what happens if that Isaiah was wearing a particular number.
Ooh.
The number that once you see in football that player is wearing it, you know that guy is a stud, which I've not used the word stud in a long time. So there you go. Check that off the box on a Wednesday edition of Gary and Matt with Caleb sitting in for Matt. Jake here as well with all of you till 10 before the Connor Happer Show is out at Warner Park today. It's game 2 between the Storm Chasers and the Bats of Louisville. Last night, Storm Chasers broke a 6-game losing streak. And Hunter Green, the flamethrower who was on a rehab assignment for the Reds, we thought got hurt last night. He's rehabbing a groin. Might have tweaked it. Didn't pitch very well. Doesn't pitch very well in Omaha. But the Connor Happer Show will be out at the ballpark today from 10 to 2. We're on till 10. It's 1620 The Zone. All right, welcome back in on a Wednesday. Gary and Matt. Caleb's in for Matt. Jake Janicek is here as well. A little bit later, John Walker from the World Herald will join us, talk some hoops and more. We'll sneak in a little volleyball with volleyball practice about to begin. Creighton announced yesterday their season tickets are sold out. If you're wondering about the Nebraska-Creighton match downtown coming up in September, tickets go on sale, I want to say the 8th of August. For the 6:30 on FS1. Wonder what's programmed after the Nebraska Creighton match on FS1 that it'll get bumped to FS2. But John will join us coming up at 9. Brandon Vogel from Counter Read stops by at 9:40. Why is Rob Ryan not coming back to college football a bigger story? He is the defensive coordinator / assistant coach or whatever his title is at USC. I think that should be a bigger deal. Maybe not so much for, hey, is he going to be the guy that helped save Lincoln Riley's job?
Mm-hmm.
But we have Rob Ryan coaching college football.
It was a little bit discussed at Big Ten Media Days, but it wasn't something that I think took over conversations at all. Not in the way that when Chip Kelly went to Ohio State type of a thing, or when he came back and took over UCLA. So, but you're right. I think it should probably be a bigger deal because he's not just in college football at some school. Like where he's at and the expectations for that program. And like you said, with it being Lincoln Riley, he is one of the coaches that is like hot seat material for this fall. So it is a potential big move in several ways, and we're going to have to see how it plays out. Nebraska fans are going to see it firsthand when USC makes their first trip to Lincoln since the aughts.
Yes. So Lynn is their defensive coordinator. Rob Ryan's official title at USC is assistant head coach for defense. Now he's going to coach the linebackers, which that's his wheelhouse. Assistant head coach for defense. They also have...
His hair is still immaculate.
Oh, my God. It's unbelievable. USC also has an assistant head coach for offense, along with an offensive coordinator.
Wait, so who?
So Luke Heward from the Heward family is the offensive coordinator, but Lincoln Riley is essentially the offensive coordinator for USC. But at USC, they have an OCDC, and then they have an assistant head coach for offense and defense on their staff.
What's the pecking? Like, who reports to who?
I mean, at the end of the day, everybody Lincoln Riley. I don't know how that power triangle works. I've never seen that. Assistant head coach for the offense. Now, essentially at Nebraska, and this is where I'm going with Rob Ryan being back in college football, and he is in the Big Ten, is a Rob Ryan, Dana Holgerson podcast.
Ooh.
I think would do monster numbers.
Yeah.
But essentially... and he's not listed like this, but Dana Holgerson is the head coach of the offense, along with being the offensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
He should be listed like that. But technically, like I've never seen it just put out there like they have at USC. But assistant head coach for the defense is one of the titles for Rob Ryan.
Because it's a weird title. Like, it's weird. If you're in charge of the offense, you're the offensive coordinator. If you're not in charge of the offense, why would you need to create a role called the assistant head coach for the offense? All you're doing is saying the same thing. That's the same position. So you're co-offensive coordinators. We've always had that. That's been a thing. So I don't know why you need to, unless you're saying, oh no, this title means this, and that has a different pay scale. Like, is that what they're trying to do?
Well, it may be that case. I don't know. There may be rules in at USC in terms of pay that if you add a title, you get more. Or it is, you're seeing this more. There is a name or a family that pays, you are the Bob Smith head coach.
Right.
So I don't know if that's the case. But I saw a clip of Rob Ryan. He was doing, I think he It might have been a coach's clinic in Southern California. So this is where I came across this yesterday. I thought, Rob Ryan being back in college football, being in the Big Ten, being at a place that is USC should be more of a story. Now, he's not the DC again, but he will have a prominent role. I know so he has been a big part of the recruiting. He has helped out the recruiting class, which is near the top of the recruiting rankings for the class of 2026.
It's been a hot minute since he's been in college. Since the 90s.
Where was he at before he went to primarily the pros?
Oklahoma State at the end of the 90s, 97 to 99. He was at Hutchinson Community College before that. He spent 2 seasons with the Arizona Cardinals before going and taking over as the DC at Hutchinson. And then before that, he was at Tennessee State for several years, running backs coach, linebackers, and defensive line. And then prior to that, 1988, he was a grad assistant at Ohio State. Year before, a grad assistant at Western Kentucky.
It's too bad that he missed Gundy. That Gundy was after. Became the head coach at Oklahoma State after Rob Ryan was there. Rob Ryan, Dana Holgerson podcast. Let's make it happen on Husker Max.
I think it would be phenomenal. Now we just need somebody to underwrite it. I'm going to start. I'm going to put the call out now. We might need some funding for that one.
There yesterday, so we were discussing the passing of Ryan Sandberg, and all the tributes a day later, things that are written about him, things that are said. The stations of Chicago, by the way, whether it be Marquee Sports or 670 or ESPN 1000, incredible job. Like I listened all day yesterday to both of those stations, and from Rick Sutcliffe to Andre Dawson to Larry Boa, just sharing stories that make you realize they don't make people like Ryan Sandberg on and off the field that way anymore. I mean, it's very, very rare, but he was special, and people went to see him. But it got me to thinking in our discussion yesterday, Caleb, about the power of the Cubs and the power of the Braves.
Mm-hmm.
So the Braves are down in Kansas City. There's a lot of Braves fans. And it's so rare, and the Braves are having a terrible season. It's rare, it seems like nowadays, for the Braves to have a bad season. But they're having a bad season, but they have a really good following. Almost it seems like there's more Braves fans down at the K than there are Royals fans. And if you go around the country, there are Cubs fans. It's not just trying to overtake Milwaukee, which, yes, Milwaukee is the best team in baseball right now. But it's the power of the Superstation, whether it be TBS, which also had wrestling and the Atlanta Hawks, where WGN, they were just the Cubs. And then if you wanted to watch the 9 o'clock news. But both of those super networks, when we did not have 40 different versions of ESPN, Fox Sports did not exist. There were just not a plethora of games from sunup to sundown that were on television. It grew the Braves fan base nationally. It grew the Cubs fan base nationally.
Why didn't it grow? Like, I didn't grow up hearing about people being Hawks fans, though.
No, probably because the volume was not as large. Like almost every single Braves game was on TBS.
Well, yeah, and it's 162 games.
Yes,
and
the Braves, when they were on TBS, they were pretty good. I mean, there's the Doc Rivers, Tree Rollins, Roundfield, Dominique. I mean, they were really, really good. I just think it was the volume of NBA games compared to Major League Baseball. And and the thing with baseball, and this is why they need to get things right, man. They cannot have a lockout after next season because I found myself, even as a diehard baseball fan, you miss. During COVID 5 years ago, you miss the daily, it's there. Okay, that's kind of what the Cubs became. When you come home from school, the Cubs were on. They were playing at Wrigley. You got to watch Ryan Sandberg. I don't think he fits this. I think it's Dale Murphy. But are Ryan Sandberg and Dale Murphy the most watched athletes of all time?
Ooh. And we're not including like you're going on YouTube and watching highlights.
No,
you watch them live.
Straight live television. Because back in the day, there were not as many choices. And those two superstations, it seemed like everywhere in the country could get it. Now, TBS was all over. WGN didn't have as strong a distribution in the Northeast. So that's why I don't say Sandberg right away. I more go like Dale Murphy, the most watched athlete of all time.
I would say
because Jordan's game was not on all the time. Like the Braves were on every single game.
Maybe for the only thing I can come up with right now, especially baseball related, where it was just pure numbers of people, I would have to put up the pure numbers of people that were tuning in during the 98 season to watch Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa.
Okay.
And I think if you were to take, because they were breaking into those games, like they were breaking into programming when Sammy Sosa was up to bat and Mark McGwire was up to bat. Do those and getting those eyeballs, where do those counteract the longevity of games, of having every game of a season on year after year after year? But like, other than that, you can't, it's not going to be NFL. No. Like limited number of games, like we just said with the NBA, limited number of games. It's going to have to be something from baseball. And if nobody else was on like that, those are really your only options.
See, there's part of a tie in here with the Superstations of WGN and TBS and how they grew the Cubs and the Braves. And I mean, you thought you were, Harry Carey was with you during the day and his son was with you at night. I mean, doing, Harry doing the Cubs and Skip doing the Braves. But when there were limited choices for live sports back in the day, where the TV ratings were through the roof because you watch TV. I mean, we didn't have smartphones. Okay. You didn't really have computers back in the heydays of WGN and TBS until later in their infancy, their business model, where they were still a national thing, is the Nebraska football fan base nationally. And this isn't, hey, it's been a struggle of late. So people have, why would you become a Nebraska fan? But how many fans of Nebraska and Oklahoma were grown back in the day because not only of that game and the meaning, but it was also one of the rare games that was going to be on television that was available to everybody. Is that did it grow nationally, the Nebraska-Oklahoma football fan base, like the Dallas Cowboys? You did not have the red zone. They were, 3 or 4 games a week max that everybody could watch. And of course, the Cowboys, the Raiders, and the Dolphins seemed like they were on all the time. So you grew those bases, like Notre Dame. Notre Dame was on all the time. We don't have that anymore. And I wonder, in today's age of how we consume our sports, whether in the palm of our hand or still on our TV or we go to the games, last 10 years, what do you think is the fan base that has grown the most in professional or college sports? Because do you find you were saying in the first segment, when you were coming back from Vegas on the plane, people ask you where you're from. You say Nebraska, and they just want to talk about the Huskers. If mom and dad didn't go to school there, or you don't live here, and even if you live here, it doesn't automatically mean that you're a Husker fan. How do you grow the Nebraska fan base?
Right.
When you have so much competition out there, when you're not winning a national championship every year. Like, has the Georgia and Ohio State fan base gotten bigger since they started winning national championships? You see what I'm getting at?
Well, and their fan bases are so big, it's like you can only get so much bigger. And for Nebraska, even, you could only get so much bigger. But for Nebraska, since you've had a lack of success for so long, it feels like there is a line you can still cross on getting bigger in the modern age. And back in the day, you were only allowed to be on television so many times a season. But those few times you were on, they were bangers. Like, you were getting Nebraska, Oklahoma. You were going to get that bowl game. Like, you were getting big time matchups, and Nebraska was largely successful in them. So when those are some of the few options you have to watch a game and the team is being successful, and now, like, no offense to Rutgers, but they're on TV just as much as Nebraska is this fall.
Yeah.
And I know people complain when something's on like Peacock. It's behind a subscription, because so many people are watching every single game. It's hard. I would guess professionally, because of the success that they had and because of the superstars they had, probably Golden State has grown the most in the last decade because they had a run.
Yeah.
And they're still pretty relevant because they still have Steph Curry. But outside of that, like who else is really growing their fan base domestically? I know the NFL overall is expanding with their stuff in Europe. And I get that. Like that's a market. And the NBA always wants to get more out of Asia. But you're all on TV just as much as the next guy. There's nobody that someone in Boston is watching the same team as someone in Milwaukee.
Jake, you're a little bit younger. Do you hear this? Because this is kind of tied into Sandberg. Like, people might not have been Cub fans, but they watched Sandberg and they liked Sandberg, so they became a Cub fan.
Yes.
I've had people tell me the story that like I was at home Thanksgiving. I'm watching Nebraska, Oklahoma. I saw Johnny Rodgers. That's how I became a Nebraska fan. I saw Tommy Frazier. That's how I became a Nebraska fan. I saw the Black Mamba and DeAnthony Thomas. That's how I became an Oregon fan. I became a Florida fan because I saw Tebow. Do you hear that amongst your younger set, that you become a fan of a team because of an individual player?
I mean, I definitely would say like it does kind of go like that. I mean, like growing up, like LeBron James is kind of the one player kind of coming up. So many people became LeBron fans from how he played. Same thing with like Steph Curry and Golden State. It kind of seemed like that way. Like it seems a lot that one player, I think mostly like my age group, people are fans of like one player and they kind of follow him from team to team.
Yeah.
Well, because so many guys now are moving from team to team, even in collegiately, as opposed to if you became a Ryan Sandberg fan. Well, guess what? He was mostly going to be in one spot.
Yeah.
Now, if you are a LeBron James fan from 2003, well, he's hopped around a little bit. Shaquille O'Neal was on a few different teams.
Yeah.
Kevin Durant has been on a few different teams. Steph Curry is a throwback.
Yeah. Yeah, he stayed a Warrior. Curtis brings up, and this is, if you're just tuning in, is Dale Murphy or Ryan Sandberg the most watched athlete because of the power of TBS and WGN with less competition? Curtis brings up Tiger Woods. He played a lot during his prime, so almost every weekend Tiger was on TV.
Yeah, you're getting into the sheer volume versus the overall numbers watching an individual event. Because those individual, like a Sunday, and he's got the red on, that's going to have more viewers than that whatever game is being played on July 30th, you know? But how many of those over the course of a year compared to 162 plus in a year? I don't know those numbers, especially when you take those numbers in the millennium, because you started to get that access everywhere, and he was a phenomenon. Like, people weren't golf fans and they were turning it on because it was Tiger on a Sunday.
Curtis, thanks for the tweet. All right, take a break, come back. When we do return, you asked yesterday about rugby players that play. Do they kick with both feet? We got an answer from Tanner that I will share. Plus, everybody now likes to talk about the schedule. The schedule.
The easy schedule?
The easy schedule. There was another list yesterday where Nebraska, again, has one of the easiest schedules in the Big Ten, and people roll their eyes. But who actually is the toughest opponent that Nebraska will play in 2025?
Ooh.
We'll discuss when we come back up to the top of the hour. A little bit later, John Walker, Brandon Vogel will join the show. Gary and Matt. Caleb is in for Matt. Jake's in for Jimmy on 1620 The Zone. All right, good Wednesday morning, everybody, on the 30th of July. Tomorrow is 4 weeks from Arrowhead, Nebraska, and Cincinnati. Last night, as I was, like many other Cubs fans, were trying to balance being sad, losing the first two games against the Brewers, reacting like Craig Counsell did once Vaughn hit the grand slam. They've got the first base dugout cam that's ISO'd on Vaughn at the plate, and Counsell is in the background on the third base dugout. And immediately when the ball is hit, Counsell turns away. That's how a lot of us Cub fans were feeling last night. It was the damn Brewers. I would hope they would fade when we took their manager. That's not the case. I'd like to see how the sausage is made in Milwaukee. Mad respect for the Brewers, but we need to win today. So going through the crisis of team has lost the first two games of an important series, or being just sad. The WNBA cured my sadness last night. Somehow, if you've not seen this, and we're going to have to walk a little gingerly here because we're on probation after one of the hosts dropped the F-bomb on the show last week.
Oh,
I just made that part up. Not the second part of that.
I was like, is that why he vacation?
Nope, you're looking at that person. So somehow last night in a WNBA game, Bills Mafia showed up. They got into the arena, and during the course of the game, and it was not like in the middle of a WNBA game last night in Atlanta, it was towards the end of the game, like in the last minute.
Which feels respectful to wait until most of the game is done.
Opens up a different kind of question of when is the timing right to launch a... Jake, how would you describe what was thrown on the floor last night in the WNBA game? And be careful here. You're young in the business. I don't want you to get canceled.
Oh, all good. But it's this neon green...
NSFWer was thrown on the floor?
Adult toy.
Can you say that on air?
Oh.
And I don't think it's one of the words you can't say, but this feels like it's been a family program.
School's not in session, so there's not a lot of people that are driving with their kids in the car. There was a dildo thrown on the floor last night in the WNBA game,
and a camera zoomed in on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so there's a lot of there's a lot of questions here. The WNBA with Caitlin Clark on the sidelines due to her injury. Angel Reese came back last night. Well, that team in Chicago was bad, but the big stories of the WNBA this week have been a player lost her wig the night before, and then this toy was thrown on the floor like the Bills Mafia had invaded a WNBA game. Okay, well, I got questions. So maybe Caleb, you can answer them. How do you get it through security?
It's not metal.
It is rubber. That's right.
Yeah, I feel it'd be like really easy just to try to.
But don't you have to
somewhere?
But don't you have to?
I can get that past a clear bag policy pretty easy.
Excuse me? Don't you have to? You have to take things out of your pockets, right?
I mean, purses. People have got purses. Girls have got big purses.
That's a big purse.
You just wrap a shirt or a towel around it. I don't know.
So you get it into the arena, and kind of on a question you asked, the appropriate time to launch said object onto the floor would be when?
About the time it happened, because that's when you're putting your souvenirs into your bag and you go, I need to make a little room. And this is just taking up way too much space. And I'm sitting on balcony level, and let's see what kind of arm I got.
Okay.
That thing bounced like middle of the lane, and I think landed about half court.
So the announcer of the game, they were cognizant to the color, and that it had flown on the floor. I don't think initially they knew until, as Jake was mentioning, the camera zooms in. So then you see why the delay of the game has happened and why everybody is like frightened and they don't know what to do. Now, I felt bad for the arena worker in Atlanta because they had a glove up to come and pick up the said object that was stopping the game on the floor. I don't blame the cameraman. People are crushing the cameraman today for zooming in.
No, cameraman's job is get the shot.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
They don't control what goes over the air.
And let's just be fair here. Not everybody knows what that is. And so it's the producer that says, let's find out why there's a delay. Maybe there was a bird that fell out of the rafters and hit the floor instead of something rubber that was bouncing like the basketball.
They had Randy Johnson on security up there.
But the WNBA had a delay last night. Some people are horrified. Others are like, okay, this is going to drive the attention a little bit. We'll get a little attention on the WNBA. But Bills Mafia, congratulations. You are 2 for 2 in your home stadium and now on the road.
I say congratulations to the WNBA.
Okay.
Because think about what is the WNBA wanted, and they at their All-Star game they said, pay us what you owe us, or pay us what we're owed, whatever it was on the shirts.
Yep.
You want the attention, and guess what? What comes with the attention is people are idiots on social media. People show up to your arena being idiots. The NBA gets this. I don't know that people have been throwing adult toys on the floor, but they've thrown other stuff. Think about, what was it? Ole Miss at Tennessee. They're throwing mustard bottles at Lane Kiffin.
Yes.
You want to be these big sports that have these? Well, guess what? It comes with a little crazy. It comes with a little bit extra attention. And guess what? You got that right now at a time that your star who is driving the ratings for your league is out. I'm not saying this is the only way to get attention.
So you think this was a plant?
This is orchestrated.
Hey,
I wouldn't go that far, but I would say the WNBA by garnering more attention, by saying we want to see this growth, it brings out some of the crazies. And because it's a league in growth, it's a league that is set for expansion. If you haven't read it, there's an ABA book, and I know I said this when I was on Sportsmanlike Conduct with Josh Peterson probably a month ago. It's called Loose Balls. The stories about like early ABA.
Yeah. Fantastic.
And just like the wild, the crazy, but they wanted the growth.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted to compete with the other leagues, and for them competing with the NBA. Well, WNBA, you got a lot more cameras on you and you're getting the crazy. That's what comes with the territory. So congratulations to you.
I've seen Semi-Pro, so I know what you're talking about the ABA. So
great movie.
Fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic.
I mean, those uniforms the Flint Tropics were wearing.
Ooh. Love the color scheme.
Surprised there hasn't been a sequel to Semi-Pro. We got a Happy Gilmore 2.
Yeah,
are we
did.
gonna get a Waterboy 2?
There's no other Adam Sandler movie to do a sequel of, I feel, but Adam Sandler. But Happy Gilmore.
Is Waterboy 2? Is he just in charge of, what did Trump call it? The alligator Alcatraz?
We checked some things off with you, Caleb, this morning in the shower. People are now like Sandler got asked. He was on and by the way, 46.7 million in the first 3 days that Happy Gilmore 2 was on Netflix.
I haven't watched it yet.
46.7 mil.
Wow.
Well, you're not American.
Well, okay. You know what I have watched on Netflix? Like 3 times already in the last week. K-pop Demon Hunters. Have you flipped that on yet?
I've been hearing about it. A lot of people are talking about it. I have not.
I should have directed my attention that way.
That does seem like a Gary type of show.
Is this the band? K-pop?
So K-pop is a genre.
Okay. But it's also a band, correct?
Yes, K-pop is a band.
I'm so dialed in. I am dialed in on the Major League Baseball trade deadline that I'm not up on that. And also I'm trying to figure out why Sydney Sweeney is a Nazi. But other than that,
yeah, whatever's happening with her genes, JEANS. But K-pop Demon Hunters is it's banger after banger with the songs that are in there, and my daughter cannot turn it off.
Okay, so is this for us or is this for kids?
It's animated.
Okay,
but it's animated. It's for adults too.
Okay,
like there are very good messages going on with the songs that I think a lot of us can relate to. Okay. But the music is good. It's not like you turn it on, you're like, oh, this movie, okay, they had Scotty Doesn't Know. It's like, oh, well, they put out one good song that happened in the movie, and it happened to be just for that movie. No, it's banger after banger. And I know Gilmore 2 is doing well. K-pop Demon Hunters it's doing something on Netflix.
I will put it on the list. I got Trey Lance to watch for a half of football tomorrow night. So
double feature Trey Lance with K-pop Demon Hunters.
Somehow they're connected. Tanner answered a question you had yesterday. So we were talking about Archie Wilson, who is the Australian punter that is in line to be Nebraska's starting punter. He got here after spring ball. He was specifically brought here by Mike Eckler to change Nebraska's punting, where they're going to more of a rugby style. So they bring in a kid who, if you go to his Instagram, not really a lot of punting of football, but appears to be a really, really good rugby player. And Caleb brought up, and if you did not hear the discussion after Monday's practice, he kicks with both feet. He also throws with his left and right arm. So there is a secret weapon that Nebraska has. Just don't tell anybody. And you asked the question, in rugby, is that commonplace? And so Tanner, who played with the Goats, who is one of the legendary rugby clubs here in Omaha, and rugby, whether it be high school rugby, youth rugby, or adult rugby, is extremely popular and really good in this city. Tanner says, I only kicked with right. If you kicked left, you played on the left side. 8s could be different than 15s, which I played. I think we only had one guy kick both legs when I played.
Okay. But is it obviously, well, and it's, I mean, I know in soccer, obviously if you're better with one foot than the other, that can determine which side of the field you play on. So it sounds like that's similar to rugby. But is it super beneficial if you can do both, and that makes you more of a Swiss Army knife on where you can play, where you can line up? And it sounds like obviously him growing up playing rugby, and he was playing at a decent level, that was something special for him, or something just special within the sport that they prefer people who can do that, or do they want people who are specialized and they're just kicking with their right foot, just kicking with their left?
Now, returners will tell you that the ball comes off a left foot a little bit different.
Well, in the same way that receivers know that a ball thrown by a left-handed quarterback flies a little bit different.
So this will be the whole communication thing. I mean, we're all scarred from what happened at Michigan State when the directional punt went the wrong way, and that directional punt ended up being a return for a touchdown for Michigan State and completely changed that game up in East Lansing when it looked like Nebraska was in line to get there and win that game. I have not caught completely up on the groin kick chronicles. That has to be top 10.
Well, and they just put out 10 through 6.
Okay. Michigan
State is not on there.
But it hasn't been on yet, right?
I would have to go back and see if it has.
Okay. But the communication would have to be top notch if you are going to say, hey, this particular punt, Archie Wilson's going to kick with his left foot. But if you're doing rugby style, aren't you going to give it away a little bit? If you're rolling left, you're going to kick with your right foot?
Okay, but in your giving it away, that's within 10 seconds of that ball getting to you.
Fair.
So I think that's a little bit different than prepping for it during the week and knowing that it's a possibility, and you go out there and he does it with his right foot the first, let's say, 2 times Nebraska punts, because Nebraska's not going to go every game without punting here. And then that third time comes out and you're thinking,
I thought you had faith in Dana's offense.
I do. But it is the first week of camp. We've only seen one day, remember. But he comes out and you're like, okay, it could be the left. It could be the left. So you're thinking it is, but then he does it the right. Every single time he comes out there, it's something that the returner is going to have to be thinking about. And then when it is the left, it's okay. Now it's left footed. Now I have to remember this, but it's all within 10 seconds of you seeing it happen.
All right, when we come back, question about the schedule, because there was another list yesterday, and it shows you that Nebraska, for the first time in a while, has what could be, if you take advantage of the opportunity, a very manageable conference schedule, along with Cincinnati, 4 weeks from tomorrow. Akron, who is not eligible for a bowl because they're not very smart in school. That's the facts.
They might be smart. They're just not turning in their assignments. I don't know what it is. There's different reasons to have a low GPA.
Their whole football program is a tribute to Cardell Jones. They didn't come there to play school. And then Houston Christian. But who actually is the toughest opponent on Nebraska's schedule? We'll discuss that. We roll till 10 a little bit later. John Walker stops by to talk some hoops and more. Brandon Vogel on a plethora of things. Now that we're into the first week of camp, yeah, feels good. Football tomorrow night, preseason game. Trey Lance going to play a whole half. Remember Trey Lance still in the league? Remember that draft pick? Remember his time at North Dakota State? His brother's a baller. He's a wide receiver up there and stayed in Fargo when he could have gone into the portal and probably would have made some cash. Yeah, Trey Lance is going to play the entire first half for the Chargers tomorrow night against the Lions in the Hall of Fame game. It's like, I guess now or never. I mean, he's not going to knock out Herbert.
Yeah, he's not going to pass Justin Herbert, but it's the same thing we're looking at with the backups here. You're not knocking off Raiola, but can you solidify a spot?
Yeah, for somebody else's team down the road.
Yes.
Just kidding. All right. We're back with more Gary and Matt. Caleb's in for Matt. Jake is here this morning as well on 1620 The Zone. Hey, last night here in the Omaha Metro, and now we are trending of storms that have rolled through the area with high winds, maybe heavy rain, and maybe even your part, a little bit of hail. So this is what you need to do. If you have an older roof and you're wondering, okay, did my roof make it through the night? Don't do it yourself. Don't climb up on the roof. Leave it to the experts. The MVPs of roofing in Omaha, Moose Roofing. Trust me, you'll have a wonderful experience. I've gone through the entire process with Pat Moose and his crew, and from the communication to the way they explain why they are different from the way they look at your roof, what they can do to save you money, what they can do with your insurance company, you will have a nice, wonderful, smooth experience. So if you think that your roof has taken a beating over the last couple of days or over the many years, why not trust it to the MVPs of roofing? Moose Roofing. Your most valuable asset is your home. Why wait? Contact them today online at mooseroofing.com. They'll come out with an inspection. First, they'll sit down with you, and then they will get on your roof. Pictures, video, and they'll walk you through the process. And then they will take over working with your insurance company to get the project started to be good from beginning to end, communication and the quality of work top notch. You don't believe me? Look at the reputation. They've been in business as a local contractor for nearly 30 years. Pat now says we're close to 16,000 roofs that we have done from Western Iowa all the way to Lincoln. They could take care of you as well. Commercial, residential, roof repair or service. Contact them today online at mooseroofing.com. if I was playing the role of Ron Burgundy and just read unfiltered the comments about what happened in the WNBA last night that are on our stream with our fantastic YouTube community, it would be entertaining, but there is the maturity part of me that it says, you know what, let's leave that to Jake. Jake, if you could go through the YouTube comments about what happened at the... No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Welcome back in. It is Gary and Matt. Caleb is
never go through the comments.
I mean, I was ready to. You wanted me to, Gary. I got you.
Just everyone that would like to read the funny comments because there is a lot of creativity flowing. By the way, thank you, TC, for the email. Cannot say that on air. If you've not seen the video, it's not very hard to find after a little bit of excitement in the last minute of a WNBA game last night in Atlanta. All right, welcome back in. A little bit later, John Walker will stop by. Also, Brandon Vogel. Nebraska, day 3 of practice in Lincoln. There is no media availability. So how they look, who is in, who is out, usually is reserved for the head coach. He does not speak until Saturday. Dana Holgerson speaks tomorrow. So if you're wondering if there will be any updates on anything that is going on in Lincoln, you have to wait.
Yes.
You guys don't understand. Back in the day when I first started covering Nebraska, when I was in school and was working at Broadcast House and, found out that this is what you do for a living, there were daily practice reports that were put out by media relations.
Yeah.
Like a full practice recap, not just like audio or video or anything like that. It was a practice recap that, and I think there was media could go after practice every single day back in Osborne's day. Mm-hmm. And even in Frank, I think that discontinued after Callahan took over because he was more used to the NFL.
Well, they used to print the practice stats in the paper.
Yeah, well, so if you go to the scrimmage, they would have a couple of scrimmages either in the spring or the fall. And yes, they would keep stats. And then they would give you those stats. And you're right, the Journal-Star or the Star, which was the afternoon paper, when they had two, and they had a morning and afternoon, just like they had in Omaha, but it was, just the World Herald. Yes, they would print those stats. We also used to print, young Jake, testing results. We'd get excited in the winter about conditioning results, and then you would see the conditioning results in the fall right before camp.
So because I've done my all quarter century team project, when you look at the bios on the Husker website, mm-hmm. the guys at the beginning of that for eligibility, 2000, 2001, 2002, all have testing result records on their bio. You don't have that for the last 20 years.
No, and it seemed like every coach since Solich has teased that they would like to release it, and they don't. Really, the only time you ever find out is if somebody is doing a TikTok or an Instagram and they're in the weight room and they have on the screens the different testing.
Or if a coach tells us that someone has a 29-inch vertical.
Yeah, and I mean, you kind of like to know that a little bit more. But there used to be full-fledged releases of the entire practice report. And it was okay. But I also think, if I remember correctly, there was availability either with TO almost every day or somebody, a coach or a player, after practice. We don't have that now. We get some ability to watch practice for a limited time. Florida State has announced that they have shut down anybody watching practice. It's not like we're obligated to do it. I mean, if you're going to whine in Tallahassee because you're not going to get to see practice, you're probably never going to get to see practice. But this to say, there will not be a coach speaking until tomorrow. But if you are going to the open workout on Saturday night, you'll be able to see who is available and not as available. So back to the scheduling thing. And this is on the heels. I was thinking about this actually yesterday after we got off the air, because part of Monday's discussion is still the mental part. Like Rule going to bat for his defensive lineman, there's the mental hurdle. Okay. You're hearing that we have a change. You've got a new position coach. We have a guy that's in Philadelphia, looks good in training camp. He's not here anymore. I'm going to build you up Buttercup. Because there might be that mental part. Then there was Rule mention as he was walking you down the path of this is going to be a player-led team, that there is still some mental things. Mm-hmm. What is left? What can't they control? It's the mental thing. I ask you this and everybody else, and you look at the schedule, and there's the mental part of, oh yeah, that schedule looks like it could be really, really good. What if Nebraska is the toughest opponent on Nebraska's schedule?
Can I answer that question with another question?
Yes, yeah.
When's the last time Nebraska wasn't the toughest team on Nebraska's schedule?
That's a great question, and that shows you kind of where this team is upstairs until they overcome that hurdle, and this isn't a talking point anymore. Because I thought that subtly there was still some talk about the mental part of that hurdle that this program still runs into until they start stacking success and they get validation for things they do.
Dylan Raiola talked about that a little bit at media days. He was asked about one-score games, and he said the narrative is going to have to change, and he thinks the guys that they have there are the guys that can change that narrative, and specifically talking about one-score games. But what happens at the end of one-score games? We see guys get tight. They don't make plays. Ball goes through their hands. They don't pick up a first down in overtime. You know, that's been a decade. So like those types of things in the winning moments, Nebraska has not had. And most of what's happening in those moments is not physical. Most of what is happening in those moments is between the ears. Nebraska being a bigger opponent, a tougher opponent for themselves than Illinois or Michigan State or Minnesota.
So let's go back to that game, because that's the one that sticks with a lot of people, the way that game ended against the Fighting Illini on that Friday night. Didn't it seem like, and this is where we might take this conversation about having a different OC. Didn't it seem like Nebraska was not prepared to play offense in overtime?
Yeah.
Like not even the mental part, but just having your go-to pet plays that in an overtime setting where you're starting at the 25 are going to get you 6, 7. You don't need to score a 25-yard touchdown on the opening play. It'd be great, but hey, this one's going to get us 5, and then this is going to get us 6. We've worked on red zone. Now we just add 5 yards to it. It struck me as Satterfield was not prepared for overtime and did not have the part of his Cheesecake Factory play sheet where he went, okay, flip to page 6. This is what we do in overtime. I don't know if that's mental or if that's coaching.
The preparation for it.
Well, I meant they prepped for it, but it just they didn't seem like they were prepared at all to run a set of plays.
Well, and it also
the next thing you know, you're back at the 50-yard line, and you're like, what the hell is going on?
It seemed like the defensive line knew the snap count better than the offensive line.
Yeah.
Because they lived in the backfield for those 4 plays.
Mm-hmm.
So is that more, because that doesn't seem like that's a physical thing, because the blocking was okay for most of the game, but obviously on a series you had to have, everything went away. Guys couldn't get open, and the defensive line was living in the backfield. Raiola's running for his life, and you're trying to figure stuff out. But also, was the play call and the protection the way it should have been? So there's the offensive coordinator part of it. Yeah. But also, how tight was everybody? Was the protection and everything set up the way it was supposed to be, and then everyone just locked up at the exact same time?
Well, that game was essentially over, in my mind, when there was not a connection in the end zone on the pass to Lindenmeyer.
Yes.
I mean, you could feel it in the stadium where it was just like, oh. And then it did not help miss field goals. But that was like the dagger. That was like, okay. And that didn't happen, and the whole place went, I just thought in overtime they were not prepared, but that's not new. So probably a little bit of it is being prepared of, okay, we've worked on this, we've repped this, here we go, to, here we go again.
And on the other side of the ball, Illinois pulled out their, they bring in the weird guy with a different number, and
they were prepared to play in overtime.
They said, because they went, what is the play we know is going to get us 3 yards right now? And they did that, and they got all the way down. They went, what's a touchdown play?
Yeah.
What is the play that gets us in the end zone? And I had talked with Illinois guys during the week, and they had said, hey, here's a play Illinois likes to run if they need something. And when they got down to where they needed something, the guy was texting me. He's like, hey, this play is going to happen in overtime. And it happened. And I'm like, well, if they're guys who cover the team, obviously they see them more than probably what Nebraska's staff is able to scout in a week. But like, there's got to be communication somewhere. And you have the green dots out there. Like, you can communicate something a little bit better than just yelling and putting up signs.
The last time Nebraska was not the toughest opponent on Nebraska's schedule, 15 years ago, maybe.
That's pretty much Nebraska getting into the Big Ten.
I would go before that. I would say 15 plus years. I'm going to the 09 season.
The 09 season?
09-10.
I was going to say, because in 2010, well, even in 2012, they played for a conference championship.
Yes, but I think
Big Ten.
I think it needed a wake-up call from Ohio State. I didn't begin the year and go. I mean, I still had concerns about Nebraska getting in their own way.
Yeah.
But it was just, I thought it was a curious how Rule weaved in, I have confidence and this is going to be a player-led team, but then also would drop you about the mental part. And the mental part, 4 weeks from tomorrow, is not going to be all of a sudden cured. And it may be when you're stressed out and you're down 2 scores and you find a way to win a football game or win a game and you're down 2 scores against a team you shouldn't be down against, and you find a way to come back. Or is it you get over the mental part when you win a game that you're not supposed to and you've got to be on point the entire game? I mean, that's the question that'll go on the entire year. But I think until now, Nebraska is Nebraska's toughest opponent until they win. I mean, I'm not saying they're going to beat themselves, because that's going to end up in another loss. But when does that get cured? When does that mental part get cured? The next time they play in overtime, and Holgorsen goes, "Yeah, I only have 6 plays here, and that's what we're going to do." Instead of, "Hold on, Dylan, let's try this." And the next thing, Dylan's on his ass, and he's 30 yards behind the line of scrimmage.
It's not just winning, because winning cures all. And like you feel success, and then you feel like you can do things that maybe you weren't able to do before because you've been winning. But to me, it's cured. That mental hurdle that's been blocking the program for 15 plus years is cured when you get to multiple times in the season, not just once, not just seeing it happen once, but multiple times where you get into winning time. You could be ahead, it could be tied, you could be behind, whatever it is. You get to winning time and make those plays. Because we know what Nebraska's record is in 1-score games. It's atrocious. So what can Nebraska do when it gets to winning time? 4 minutes left in the game, 2 minutes left in the game, 30 seconds left, and you have the ball at midfield, and you just need to get into field goal range. Like, just do the things that get you to winning. Can you picking up a first down, just a first down, not even scoring, picking up a first down, having a positive series in overtime? When you have those things, it feels like the mental hurdle is cleared. And that's not to say that things can't go wrong at the end of games, winning time, or overtime after that. But you're stuck in this everything is going to go wrong loop until you get over that multiple times over the course of a season.
All right, 8 minutes to go, a month from tomorrow. Tight game. How you feeling?
We're nervous.
Yep.
Like we're absolutely nervous, because for us, we're not there, and for us, it's a here we go again. The problem is if the players are doing here we go again.
And that would be a problem. Here's why I think it will be different in those scenarios, because and I know the whole field is not in the red zone. So 77% of the touchdowns that are scored today in the NFL and college are scored in the red zone. All right. So 23% come outside of the red zone, 20 yards and in. This is why I think when you get in those scenarios of playing in overtime, where Nebraska's got an atrocious record, what is it, 2014?
The last time, at Iowa.
Is look at the guy that is in charge. So this is what I always look at with red zone, is you've got a play sheet that is designed for red zone plays. Okay, you don't your whole playbook, and Holgorsen is Holgerson's like Osborne. They got a little crib sheet. I mean, they don't have the Waffle House menu. You know, they and that was alluded to the other day by Lindenmeyer. He said, get used to doing the routine. You know, they have a lot of plays, but they're all based off of just a handful. You know, they can do a bunch of things off this particular play. So I think it's red zone, being good in the red zone is the play sheet of the offensive coordinator coinciding with the quarterback who's got to make quick decisions. All right, the ball's got to get out. Then the offensive line having yards before contact. Like you're knocking people off the ball in the red zone from the offensive line before your running back is even touched. So I think all of those things I think Nebraska will be better at, and maybe that leads to that mental part that they can score in the red zone. They're scoring 7 instead of 3. But the Illinois, here was one of the more damning things about Satterfield in the Illinois game. If you listen to Damon on the radio, like Damon looking at it, and and Damon's now, of course, his background is running back playing on offense, but he has primarily been a defensive guy at Westside, and he looks at defense probably with a keener eye than offense. He could pick apart what Nebraska should have been doing sitting upstairs in that game. And if you go back and you listen, and the disgust in Damon's voice is in overtime, especially of what are they doing? Like there's no plan. You are hurting yourself. You haven't even given yourself a chance with a particular play call, even to get your feet wet on first down. I mean, what are you doing?
It was panic. Now get to and still it didn't work out, but the end of the UCLA game, it felt like there was a plan. And I know Harburg had to do some stuff, and I know you end up getting a bad bounce, like off of Ja'Cory Barney for an interception. But there felt like a plan and an urgency to go get something done. It didn't get done, but just the way it felt, having the same outcome, felt different. UCLA versus Illinois.
Well, I think the urgency is a key word, and I also think something changed, and this will benefit. We've gone for 2 or a year and a half, essentially, with Satterfield calling plays where the play call didn't necessarily match the personnel on the field. Like we called the play because we had to call the play instead of going, we have the right running back out there. That was a major problem in 23. Wasn't as prevalent in 24, but it was still there. This will be a scenario where I think the play call matches who's on the field. Instead of, why are we running that play for Emmett? That looks like a Dowdell play, or vice versa. I think that'll be a change this year, and hopefully that'll help with the offense. But I just think that the offense is pared down. There isn't as much thinking. I mean, it's a read and react sport. Dylan thinks less, gets the ball out quicker. What that can do for the offense, which could do for when you get into an overtime scenario or a red zone where it's 20 or 25 yards in, I think it'll make a world of difference. And then I think that helps when you have success in those situations that have plagued Nebraska to help getting over the mental hurdle.
And I know there's a lot of new guys, and there's a lot of underclassmen.
71% of the roster.
Yes. As of my story that just came out 15 minutes ago at HuskerMax.com, talk about the underclassmen.
Are you double dipping while you're here?
Trying to do a little bit.
You're writing for Husker Max and on the radio?
I'm specifically scheduling them to come out on the segments I know will be able to bring it up. It just worked out really well that way. But yes, 71% of the roster, underclassmen, true freshmen, redshirt freshmen, or sophomores. I know they haven't been through what did it look like against Michigan State. But guess what? Dylan Raiola hadn't been through that as a true freshman coming in, but the program feels it. Matt Rule hadn't been part of it until he got here and went 0-5 in one-score games his first year. And then last year, I think, 2-5 or something? So got a couple, but still mostly the losing record in those games. It's part of the program, not necessarily whether the players have lived it in the past. Raiola said at Big Ten Media Days, they feel that at the end of games. So it doesn't matter if they lived it in past seasons or it's a new season, it's a new era, all this stuff. You want it to be that. That's when it's cured. When you get to the season and truly feel you're 0-0 and you're going into the season and it's a fresh slate. But it never feels like that even if it's game one and you get to the end of the game, it doesn't feel like a fresh slate because of the way the program has been for at least the last decade, if not two.
All right, that's Caleb Henry from Husker Max. Go to huskermax.com during the break, and you'll see the latest story that'll be posted in. I'm watching your finger.
Yeah, it's getting there.
All right. Jake is in for Jimmy. I'm Gary. It's Gary and Matt on 1620 The Zone. You sent me down a rabbit hole about player bios because you are doing your quarter century team on Husker Max. Will that be out before the opening kickoff?
That'll be out Friday.
The whole team, or
the whole team will be out Friday.
All right.
And then next week I will also have volleyball, men's and women's basketball, softball, and baseball. But the football team, which took about 2 months of voting, and that was a little bit of work, but that full team will be released Friday morning.
All right, on huskermax.com while you're going to be in studio.
Exactly.
But you brought up the bios of players going back to 2001. So I just randomly selected Dave Volk.
Yep.
The pride of Battle Creek. Always seemed like he was an undersized offensive lineman, but he did play in a national championship game in 2001. So going through his bio, you're right. They used to include winter testing numbers because it says here Volk owns the Nebraska position record for pro agility run points. The 20-yard event, his performance index score, 2,238, is the best among current offensive linemen. Those no longer exist in bios. Here's the thing that is really missing. So part of the bios 25 years ago included, for offensive linemen, pancakes.
Yeah.
Season pancakes, and then your career best pancakes, which in Dave Volk's case was in 99 against Kansas State when he had 20 of them. And then it also included double-digit pancake games. For Jake, for you younger set, performance index score, pancakes. Am I speaking Portuguese?
I mean, I wouldn't say you're speaking Portuguese, but it's something that I feel is not talked about or looked at as stats as much as it used to.
Great find. I didn't even dawn on me that
here it is.
This is like, this used to be in like prevalent places in guys' bios.
Russ Hochstein.
Beast. Super Bowl champion.
23 pancakes against Notre Dame in 2000. A school record for a single game. Like those types of things. Because I feel like those type, like the testing and the pancakes, like what you do as an offensive lineman. And I know Cam Jurgens has obviously done really well in the NFL, and talking with people like Rob Zadiska, like people who can look at an offensive lineman and go, yeah, they're really good. And for some of us, it's clouded with the snap issues early on for Cam Jurgens. But I think if you would have had pancakes and testing numbers, you're like, oh, that's a dude. And I know we could see it at the NFL Combine, and we see what he looks like with the Philadelphia Eagles and taking over for Jason Kelce in the middle of that line, and he's won a Super Bowl. But I think some of those numbers would be helpful, or at least fun. It's like it's a talking point on where we're at with this offensive line to be able to do a comparative study on some of Nebraska's best offensive linemen and best overall offensive lines, because things looked pretty good there for a while, and those lines were a big part of it.
Dave Volk, who second team all conference that year. You're talking about offensive linemen. If you want to know how impressive Eric Crouch was in 2001 to get that team to that moment, just look at the offensive line from that season. He was the highest acclaimed offensive lineman. Dave Volk was a solid offensive lineman in Nebraska. Second team all Big 12. Was the highest honor for that offensive line in 2001. Finish up the schedule talk here. There is actually some gifts that have been given to the sports fan by Nebraska's schedule. And this should be the first one, and it is about 2 months away. And if you plan on going to any of these events, I would suggest you book your travel now. I don't know if you guys have looked ahead, because this is going to be my SEC weekend. September 27th. No Nebraska game. That's the bye week between Michigan and Michigan State.
Look out, pumpkin patches.
Oh, the 27th and 28th, your wife, your kids already have it on your calendar. You need to say, not so fast. The 27th and the 28th is Ryder Cup weekend.
Mm-hmm.
The 27th, I will be in Athens for the yearly SEC trip for Bama, Georgia. That same day is LSU Ole Miss. That night is Oregon, Penn State. Then the following day, again, Ryder Cup weekend, Eagles, Buccaneers, Ravens, Chiefs, Packers, Cowboys. That's the first bye week in Nebraska schedule, the end of September. That's a pretty good weekend.
That's a loaded weekend.
Not bad.
Like right at the top. That is heavy.
I mean, Ryder Cup is going to be a zoo out in New York. And then you throw in 2 monster SEC games and maybe a preview of the Big Ten championship game for the second year in a row, Oregon, Penn State, at the Whiteout in State College, where people will be wondering, could James Franklin actually win a big game?
And unless we make our plans for October 18th to do this, I will probably watch at least one, if not two, of those games from my phone just outside of Gretna.
Okay. All right. At least you couldn't convince your wife, hey, let's stay in the Twin Cities because the Eagles and the Vikings play on Sunday?
She'll say, those were a lot of words, and no.
I tried. When we come back, we'll catch up on some emails and some tweets. And also, they have given the tour to the media of where Dayton Raiola will be playing high school football this upcoming fall. I think, let me do the math, because high school football practice has started in the South. I think it's 2 weeks from Saturday. Buford is featured on ESPN.
Ooh.
Their opening game of the season.
Is it, and it's the game there?
I think it is in their brand new $62 million high school football stadium.
Shiny and beautiful.
All right, we're back with more after this. It's Gary and Matt with Caleb Henry sitting in from HuskerMax.com, which that story that Caleb teased about the youth is up on HuskerMax.com. Or I shouldn't say HuskerMax.com. It is SI Nebraska.
Yeah, Nebraska on SI, but we link all of it. You can find it at HuskerMax.com.
Jake Janicek is in for Jimmy, who is still away on paternity leave. We're back with more after this. All right, on the back end of the week, Gary and Matt. Matt's on vacation. Caleb Henry. It's been so nice last couple of days. Caleb will be back on Friday. Mike Schaefer in tomorrow. Caleb from HuskerMax.com. Jake Janicek is in for Jimmy. In an hour, John Walker will stop by from the World Herald for his weekly visit. Also, Brandon Vogel from CounterRead.com. Where were we, about a week since Hulk Hogan passed away?
Yeah, it was last week.
So with his passing, I have been able to, and for people my age, we lost people you grew up with, from Theo Huxtable to Ryan Sandberg yesterday. My algorithm is a lot of old school wrestling videos.
Ooh.
Yeah. Pretty good back in the day. I don't want to be old head and back in my day, man, there were some classics that just keep showing up because, of Hogan's passing, and people keep bringing up Hulk Hogan, and on your algorithm, it's just clip after clip of old school wrestling.
Well, and also old school wrestling, there was no safety.
No. No.
It was the 100% entertainment. Here's what's happening.
It's to go down and then the nostalgia sells big time. That's kind of what sports is trying to dabble with a little bit, to give you the current, but also give you some nostalgia, because it's not even just sports. You look at news and other outlets, they give you the old school stuff. I love it. It's fantastic. Back in the day, now going back, and whether it be WrestleMania 3 or WrestleMania 18 or the Hogan match in the Garden. Hello. Elon's doing something right, or at least I've got a good algorithm today.
That's important. Getting a good algorithm is important.
Yeah. Depending on what's currently going on in our country, yes.
Because you click on one thing and you're like, this is all I'm going to have for the next week. Jeez.
Well, so I've got wrestling, and then I've got football. Either be NFL, where reporters continue to, if a guy gets carted off, you think it's the end of the world. And now former NFL guys are clapping back about reporters using the right phrase, cart. Guys get injured and they put them on a cart, they get them off, and they get them into the locker room so they can look at them. Because it used to be, when you would hear somebody's being carted off,
it's done.
They're done. Justin Fields got carted off last week. He's back on the practice field.
Well, because now, and for him, it was what? It was like a toe?
Yes.
It was a toe thing. Whatever it was. Obviously, it was probably painful. But for them, the investment says, get off of that foot, and we're going to drive you back in there. Even 20 years ago, they went, hey, someone help him to the locker room. And you had two old linemen walk next to him. You put your arms over each other, and they hobbled to the locker room. So I can understand where they're coming from. They're thinking, carted off, is it season ending or career ending? Now, that cart it's a lot more of a convenience.
Yeah.
And you want to get those guys off their feet, or whatever the injury is, just get them in there. You're not going to make them walk as far as they can to get back there for an evaluation.
So we have two words in the NFL that are popular in the last week of training camp: cart and a hold-in. Hold-in, I think, might be more powerful than a holdout, because Trey Hendrickson is showing up in Cincinnati today. Does not have a new deal, but he was in Florida when the Bengals began training camp. Now he is going to report to training camp. Terry McLaurin, I think, is doing the same thing. Micah Parsons is doing the same thing. A hold-in, where you are there, they cannot fine you, but you're not doing everything that the rest of the guys are.
You don't have to participate in all this stuff. Okay.
I think a hold-in is more powerful to an owner than a holdout, because it's a constant reminder to you, your fans, and his teammates that he is there and this is what they are missing.
He's not just out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah. Where it's like, I guess he doesn't want to be with the team. Well, he wants to be with the team, and he's there. I think hold-in greater than holdout. But I don't know what the Bengals are going to do. We certainly don't know what the Cowboys are going to do. That is just drama-filled, and seems like something the Jones need to stop speaking. I know Steven went on.
Please.
They went on Dallas radio yesterday, and Micah Parsons, did he not help an old lady across the street? And they're upset about that, because they intimate that he is the worst guy in the world, but yet middle of September, he's going to get a deal.
Well,
at least that's what I think will
as
happen.
soon as you're not Jerry's guy and doing what he wants financially, then you're scum of the earth. By the way, can Major League Baseball do a hold in? Instead of a holdout?
Oh, for the labor?
Yeah.
I don't think that.
Can they all show up? Pitchers and catchers show up, but they all just kind of sit around.
That's what Bryce Harper did to Rob Manfred. Could you ever see an NFL player doing that to Goodell?
No.
Of approaching them in your clubhouse / locker room and getting in their face like that?
No, the NFL has the shield. You know, that's what it is. They all come back to there's the shield.
It's going to be a catalyst. It's going to get ugly. Major League Baseball and the owners and a potential salary cap is really, really going to get ugly. And that was not a good look for the sport. Also, maybe not a good look in the education / extracurricular activity things in high school. Yesterday in Buford, Georgia, which is a nice suburb outside of Atlanta. People around here know Buford because of the Raiolas, but also Nebraska has recruited Buford for a while.
Yeah.
Gabe Irvin was from Buford, right? I think he was from Buford.
Yeah, Nebraska's had multiple Buford people.
So high school football in the Atlanta area is ginormous. Texas, Georgia, Florida right now are killing it when it comes to high school football in terms of the commitment, everything that goes into it, and also who's recruiting there. California doesn't seem to have the same place it used to have, but more people are moving out of California. But Texas, Florida, and Georgia right now are the 3 hottest areas in that part of the country for high school football. And then you throw in Ohio. Ohio is still dominant in high school football. So it means more, not only in the SEC, but if you've ever been to Texas and you've seen some of the high school stadiums, heck, I could even say, and this bugs me, over in Des Moines has nicer high school football stadiums at their high schools than we do in Omaha. Yeah.
Okay.
Johnston.
Okay.
My high school invested a ton into their football stadium.
Yes, when you are getting not the Des Moines high schools, when you're getting Valley and, like you said, Waukee, because I went in the year because I lived in Des Moines for a little bit, and I went to some of their high schools. It rivaled not and I want to say this because I love 8-man football, but 8-man football where it's bad teams. That was the attendance. And some of these stadiums they had in Des Moines where I would go sit, there are wasps' nests. Like, they don't care about their stadiums.
So you might have gone to Williams Stadium to see North and Roosevelt or North and Des Moines East.
Like, there's some bad. But yes, when you get around Des Moines,
yeah. So there is in the Des Moines area in the burbs, there is a huge commitment to facilities when it comes to athletics. And we've seen in this area, they did kind of of course, Burke is first and foremost because it's most recently done. And then you have what they've done at Buell. But in Buford, Georgia, where Dayton Raiola plays, they will be on national TV. They play Milton on the 14th. It'll be on ESPN. So you can watch Nebraska's quarterback of the 26 class. Yesterday, they had a ribbon-cutting ceremony for the brand-new high school football stadium. The total cost of the stadium, $62 million. It is nicer than a lot of college stadiums, especially at the FCS level. Maybe even some at the lower level, it just does not have the capacity because the seating capacity is 10,000. It has a 3,500 square foot video scoreboard. It has 15 covered luxury suites. It has a 2-story field house complete with a locker room. It is the largest high school football stadium, one of, in the southeastern part of the country. Now, in Texas, there are a few of these that are just jaw-dropping, and you're like, hey, what college team plays here? The build is complete, and it is stunning, to say the least.
God, that looks so nice.
But and again, they are a high school football powerhouse who almost seems like let's prepare our players for pre-college. Let's have a recruiting tool of this facility. We know that we are big on football, but you come here to play, you're going to play in this stadium, this level. We'll get you ready for college.
Mm-hmm.
There is also the academic part where people are wondering, is this necessary? And what is our return on investment? Can you imagine, because you're familiar with LPS and their challenges financially, we know OPS in the surrounding area here, some of the challenges, some school districts are better off than others. If not a centralized OPS stadium, like let's say you tear down Burke and you built something like this, and so you can have OPS football, track, soccer.
Mm-hmm.
What if, and again, this is hypothetical, let's say Gretna East unveils a $62 million high school football stadium, or hell, even in Elkhorn, where they have 3 high schools that play in one stadium. Might be a little bit different because it would be for 3 high schools. But what if a single high school in this, either in Lincoln or Omaha, opened up a facility like this? What do you think the reaction would be?
It'd be largely negative. Well, and it wouldn't be
because
just
you'd say we're cutting teachers and so on and so forth and salaries, and I look out my window in my classroom and I see this thing.
I don't even think most people would be saying that. Now,
Okay.
To me, that's valid. That's where I would be, because I'm like, okay, do the facilities suit what needs to get done?
Mm-hmm.
And if they do, which at the high school level, to me, that's different than at the college level, where your facilities are like, you have to make these all sparkly and shiny, and that's part of the recruiting process in the future. At the high school level, do they suit what you need to get done right now and for the next 10 years? And if they do, you don't got to touch them. If it ever becomes no, sure, do your renovations. That's why you saw like Burke get some renovations, because it needed to be a little bit updated for the next 10 years or longer. To me, it's where's that money coming from?
Okay.
Because what's one of the number one things talked about in the state of Nebraska? It's property taxes. And I'm not going to go that direction on all of this, but people want to know, what is my money going towards? Is my money going towards something that benefits a very small population out of the whole, compared to what else could that money have been used for? And yes, that comes back to teachers and other extracurriculars, and what are the other educational aspects that you can do for these high schools. Sports guy in me, the stadium is freaking sweet.
Oh,
is this part
incredible recruiting tool
down at the end below the video board? Is that a miniature football field for
yes, for kids,
for the kids? Because I love that. You go to a high school game and the kids are playing their own game, and sometimes, at least for me, we didn't always have a football, so sometimes you made sure someone had $1 they could go get a Coke bottle, and you just leave like a little bit in there, and you're throwing that around. To a little kid's own separate football field at the football field.
This is kind of why the South owns football, because of the commitment here. Now, I cannot find how this was financed. Was it a private donor? Because the conversation changes a little bit if it was money from the educational system. I got to imagine they raised money.
Yeah.
It is named after an educator, but it is absolutely stunning.
Well, and that's how you help with it. You make it mostly private funding, if not all private funding, and you name it after the educational side.
Mm-hmm. Let's see this. I'll use Millard North as an example again. So we have 3 high schools in Elkhorn that use all the same football stadium. You have 3 high schools in Millard that use all the same football stadium right there at Millard South. Millard West, they just don't have space to build a stadium. Okay. That neighborhood would lose their mind if all of a sudden they said, you know what? Let's build a stadium that we can play football on Friday night. I mean, we have Burke. So Burke plays there. Also, Prep plays there. But what if Millard North, which they have a football stadium, but it is not available to use on a Friday night. They go over to Buell and play, and they have a little bit of land, like Millard North. Just, hey, here's a brand new because we know we're competing against Millard South. We're competing against Millard West. We're competing against West Side. We're competing against the Elkhorn schools, Elkhorn South. Here's our $62 million Ike Payne football stadium right here on the campus of Millard North with the Fred Petito entrance. Because the facilities around here do actually pale compared to other places around the area. I'm not going to even compare the South, like Seacrest. Seacrest got a little bit of an update not too long ago, and I like Seacrest. Seacrest is a nice place.
Is nice.
Seacrest actually could have the ability to do something like this, where you could put in bigger video boards, some suites, make that. But it's not. It's used by all the public schools essentially in Lincoln. It's not. It is, even though it's right next. It's on Lincoln East campus.
Yeah.
It is not just particularly for the Spartans.
And what the other thing you would need to make sure you do, and I know Memorial Stadium is trying to do this. Like, what other events can you get there? I need that thing in use as much as possible for like that kind of cost. And that's why you're saying not just football, but the marching band needs a whole lot of access to it. Get the soccer team out there. It better have a track around it. Like you got to have all of these things to where that thing is almost in perpetual use for that kind of a cost. And then that cost isn't just in getting it open. It's got to stay maintained.
Thanks, JD. He said it was paid for by the city of Buford. They added a 1% tax increase.
Man, in Lincoln, they just went through a fight about keeping whatever. I can't remember if it was sales tax or whatever it was, but it was about fixing roads and potholes. You put 1% up for a vote, and hey, here's this beautiful stadium. I'm sorry, I love it, but that thing's not getting 25%.
So, like think about the private schools that are big time into football. And Adam's right here. If Prep ever decides to build their own football stadium, and they have a nice football stadium that can be used for freshman football and JV football that is right next to the school. I mean, that's a nice facility, and that's where they practice. But you're not rolling in there to play on a Friday night. They played South there, like a 4:00 game. Noah Fant was still in high school. It was It was some type of anniversary. But they would have to put lights up, and the whole neighborhood around Prep. There's some homes that still have to be sold that Prep owns. Adam's right. Prep would be the school to do something like this through private financing, which you think if you came to some big donors, Prep grads, and said, hey, we'd like to build the Taj Mahal of high school football that is just ours in Nebraska. We'll also massage a little bit that seniors can transfer into Prep. Would you be in for it? Like that. You'd get that built at Prep, and you'd have something like this in Omaha. Now, I don't know where you would put it. I mean,
finding a place. Oh. But then you can also, if you have it, and you go, all right, this is the home stadium. You don't got to fight with anyone. You get 7:00 kickoff every Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
oh yeah, you're not playing on Thursdays.
Do you want to rent it out on Thursdays?
No.
You don't. It's only yours.
It's only yours. It's specific to you.
I'm sorry.
It's not open to the community to like come and walk the track or climb up and down the stairs.
Yeah.
Now, I imagine one of the things in Buford is it's going to have to be open to the public.
Mm-hmm.
People live in Buford can come and they can walk the track or run the stairs or do something like that. But Prep would be, that's a good call by Adam. Prep would be one of those places in this state that could get away with building something like that because it wouldn't cost you or I any tax dollars, and they would have the financing, and they are, they have a commitment to football, and people would lose their mind.
I like money. I'm taking 50% of the gate and 50% of concessions. No, I'm taking 50% of the gate and 100% of concessions.
All right, Doc Schinzel, get on this. But if you want to see this field, so Dayton Raiola, who is the quarterback at Buford, they are on ESPN on Thursday night, August 14th. This is when this stadium will make its debut. $62 million high school football stadium in Buford, Georgia.
With more capacity than Cope Stadium in Kearney.
And
at UNK.
No offense. I know your loyalty to the Lopers. It looks a little bit nicer.
Oh, no, it does, for sure.
Okay, I was just checking before you hit me.
The visitor side seating at UNK could use a little bit more something.
Oh, that's the thing. That's look at all the high school stadiums. They always like there's no seating for visiting fans in high school.
The visitor side, they went, just roll something metal out there.
Yeah. Oh, like, hey, put up a couple of rows. It'll be fine. Wouldn't that be something if they put a $62 million upgrade into Siemens Stadium, which has the best view of one of the best views of any place in Nebraska, where you look right into downtown Omaha? You don't think Abdul could get on that? Coach Mackey, they raise a little money. Central grads are like,
and what do all the high schools use? That like Strive TV.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Get some great city shots. Get the landscape.
The guys from No Block, No Rock, Crouch Recreation Stadium. You don't think EC would be like, oh, I got the manpower and the goods. We'll just come over there and we'll start building today. That would rub some people the wrong way. You wouldn't have to share it with Millard South or Millard West at Buell. You'd have your own stadium. They got room out there. I don't know if that's ever been a consideration.
Well, in the way like Elkhorn and Gretna are building a new high school every couple of years right now because of all the growth, getting something central that's super nice. Now, here's the thing. So when I went to college near St. Louis, Edwardsville, like it's an athletic campus, not just a football stadium. So it's having all of the baseball field, softball field, practice fields, like all of that around there. I know that's really tough to find space for in Omaha, but if you get to some of the burbs, maybe you've got space. And I know Gretna, like the guy who owns the crossing, like they want to do the big expanse of stuff. Yeah. But if you can get that done with a school or a group of schools.
Formerly Knoxville Chris, still Chris. Congratulations on his engagement, by the way. He said if Prep did something, or if Prep or another organization built a facility like that, you're also building it with the intent to take the state championships away from Memorial Stadium. I think that would help the school sell it to the community. Revenue generation for the area.
When you build something new, you should be thinking about what are the events I can get here. That was one of the first questions. Now, I loved Burke. I loved going to state track at Burke. I competed there all 4 years of high school. I was fortunate enough to win a couple of times. When Nebraska announced that it was building a new outdoor track, one of my first questions was, how big are you going to make this with the seating and the availability to host not just Nebraska Cornhusker events? Are you going to build this with the intent to approach the NSAA about state track and getting another state championship on campus? And they had said at the time that was part of the intention.
I think it'd be tough to take now that they've invested at Burke.
And that was pre-invest. That was pre-investment and renovation.
Hey, before they did something at Burke, that was very much a conversation that Omaha could lose state track, because that would be the only place really in the state that could handle the volume of people that come.
Yes.
But now that they have put in money into Burke and it's finished and it looks really, really nice, you people in Lincoln are not getting one of our championships.
And the format where you're spreading out the amount of people that are there at once, because you think about the parking, and especially if it's wet, and then you got people on the grass and all of those things. But yes, that pre-renovation when Nebraska was going to build it, and they still haven't even finished it yet, the intention was to put it in a place to try to bid for state track.
Pete says, fail, Gary. How come you have not mentioned your beloved District 66? I mean, we've got another project going on right now. When we get done with that, I'm sure, Kirkman we'll start working on a football field. We can enclose it. And also maybe make the press box builder bigger, and maybe put the home stands on the right side of the field over there. But they do have the large video board. Thank you, DJ.
Okay.
All right, we'll take a break. Come back. Top of the hour, we'll talk to John Walker from the World Herald. Brandon Vogel will stop by as well. And you can see this on TV. Oh, God. Can you imagine if you're competing against this in the Atlanta area? Going to be national TV.
Or if
August 14th.
If you're playing somewhere and you're like, hey, that coach talked to me at a camp this summer. Oh, that place looks nice. I've got another year of high school I could still do.
We're a little behind on the facilities around here. But the new high schools like Buena Vista and Westview, they have some really nice facilities. like Buena Vista has like an ideal football field for Buena Vista.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's the stuff like in
answer
Lincoln
is
with
build new high schools.
Standing Bear and Northwest. It's like the stuff that when you put something in, it's a little bit new.
Yep. All right, we're back with more Gary and Matt after this on 1620 The Zone. So Omaha North is building a on-campus football stadium, athletic facility. It'll include, I believe they'll be able to play soccer, and I think they will have a track as well. But it is going to be really, really nice, and a bonus that will be used for that community. So that is on the horizon. John, something you alluded to, Caleb, said where property taxes are in this town, there is no way people are going to pay another 1% tax on anything to build a $62 million high school football stadium. Why does John not like high school football? He's opposed to Friday Night Lights. I mean, look at the recruiting tool.
See, that would be the ads that run. You know what? These guys just hate high school football. I thought this was Nebraska. I thought this was America. I thought you guys loved what the pastime is: Friday Night Lights, gridiron, and the pigskin. Why do you guys hate this?
But there, so maybe not in terms of stadiums in this town or in this whole community, but we have seen, whether it be at Papio South, which is for the community, but they have an athletic performance facility, what Westside is building, what a couple of other schools in the metro proposed, is we are going to build essentially the Tom Osborne Legacy Complex without the stadium.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we will do. I am seeing more of that. And that might be easier to raise money for instead of 12 to 15 to 25 million to build a football stadium. I think you will see more high schools. You know, the idea of having a high school that's attached to a Y, like Westview is, I think it's a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
But other high schools that are building athletic performance facilities for their male and female students. And then there is a component of the community can also use it. I think will become a popular trend over now and over the next 5 years.
You're looking at the number of students that can use that, where if it's a football stadium, and yes, if it doesn't have a track around it, then it's football and it's soccer. And if it has a track, that's more. But if it is all of the students having access to that, that's a big difference in the numbers. And then if the community is able to get it, but also,
I'm glad you brought up the community, because there are some people that, you know, their property taxes or whatever go to support that school. Why isn't the stadium open for my wife to go and walk her 4 miles?
Yeah,
I hear that complaint a little bit.
There should be, unless it is something where there is a safety risk with the school, with getting into the school, because I know, like, schools are locked now. They weren't locked when I was in high school. Schools are locked.
Yeah.
For good reason.
Bin Laden.
But
Memorial Stadium used to be wide open.
Yeah, there should be some access to some
Memorial
to these.
Stadium, the average Joe and Jane could go down to the stadium and run the stairs or play football on the field until someone kicked you off. But now you can't get in.
Everything's locked up.
John Walker will join us at the top of the hour. There is, again, it's day 3 of practice in Lincoln. There is no coaches speaking until tomorrow when Dana Holgorsen will speak. Maybe he'll be asked about his son, who now is part of the Nebraska football staff. Dana Holgorsen hasn't spoken in a while.
I think he did like an individual conversation with Steve Sipple.
Okay.
I remember.
Yeah, that's right.
I remember he did that
around June, in
like
the
last month.
time.
Yeah. Other than that, he has not spoken to the media, especially in this kind of an environment, since spring ball.
Mm-hmm. So as he gets ready to go through his first full year as an offensive coordinator, and it will be his first year where he's just the OC since he was at Oklahoma State, which is about 15 years ago. And there he had Whedon was throwing the ball to Justin Blackman. And this will be a good, like, questions for him, because it's, Nebraska will be better with Dana. I heard that a lot on Monday of coaches have a plan. Like, instead of going, hey, we got the guys, that doesn't matter. It's John Butler and Terry Braden will put us in a good spot to rush the passer. Dana will fix Dillon. Dana will make this offense better. This offense could go from scoring 23 points a game last year to scoring 35 a game. Or maybe like that 2010 Oklahoma State team, score 44 a game. You hear a lot of the coaches will do this for us instead of, have you not seen this guy named Dane Key? But is there a ceiling for Dana Holgerson's offense this year? Whether it be numbers, how it looks, because I don't believe when he's been in charge of play calling, there have maybe been one or two times where they've been outside of the top 25 in offense. And that would be a big jump for Nebraska to go from where they were in total offense last year, scoring offense, to being in the top 25.
Because what was that, like outside the top 100?
Oh, they 104 last year?
Yeah. Like a lot of offensive numbers were outside the top 100.
Well, I wrote this down. I know that, so the last 2 years, yards per play, Nebraska has been at 5.19. The last 2 years, you combine that together, they were.
Is that a good yards per play?
Well, that's 104th in the country.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's not great. But I don't think there is necessarily a ceiling. I will say this, and Matt Rule reiterated this after they made the change from Marcus Satterfield to Holgorsen last year, is that here's where any of that ceiling or limitation comes in, is that the players have to do their job. You can call the best play in the world, but the players still have to do their job. And you think about those guys that Holgorsen has worked with in the past, there have been some dudes. You've had elite quarterback play, elite wide receiver play. Mm-hmm. And now I think Nebraska has those guys at those positions, but they have to do that. And the offensive line has to hold up. And Emmett Johnson has to be everything people are hoping he is as a lead back. Like, those things all have to happen. Dana Holgorsen can draw up and practice and run the best offense in the world. But if they don't do it, then it kind of nullifies what his perceived impact will be.
So 103rd, Caleb, in scoring offense last year at 23.5. To go from 103rd, because let me look here at if I gotta pull this website. I know, bad radio. Last year, scoring offense. So Indiana made the monster jump last year. They were second in the country in scoring offense to 41.3. Nebraska at 103 last year at 23.5. Give me a number that you would like, that you think is reasonable with the personnel on offense and the guy that's calling plays with the opponents in front of him. What do you think is a reasonable number for points?
From what they did
for this year.
Yeah. From what they did last year, who they returned, what they've added, and who's calling the plays. It's like the baseline has got to be over 30, but I think you're hitting, like you said, 35. I think 35 would be a good number for this team.
Okay, so if Nebraska made the jump to 35 points per game, you would go from 103rd in the country last year to what would have been 16th in the country last year with Tulane.
Top 20 offense.
Top 20 offense, which would continue the line of Holgorsen having a top 25 scoring offense. Maybe I'm not going to say the numbers would be 12 more points, which is
you're getting two more touchdowns.
Two more touchdowns a game. Is that realistic? That's a giant jump.
That is a giant jump. And then if you expand that over the course or over the rest of the product, the rest of the team, or the defense, even if they take a step back, is still expected to be top 30.
Mm-hmm.
And your special teams is expected to be improved. It doesn't have to be top 5, top 10, even top 25, but improved from where they've been. Now you're getting Kool-Aid. Now you're getting a lot of Kool-Aid if your offense and defense are both at those levels. Because if they are at those levels with this schedule, you're starting to add in a lot more W's than you are else.
Well, then let's flip it to the other side. So Nebraska, in terms of scoring defense last year, was 17th in the country. gave up 19.5 points a game. Ohio State was the best defense in the country. They gave up a shade under 13 a game. If we're talking about going from 103 to a top 25 offense, new defensive coordinator, likely to stay or fall out of the top 25. Because one of the things about Indiana's jump last year is not only did Indiana, all of a sudden their offense went through the roof, that defense was pretty good. Indiana finished 6th in the country in defense last year. And if you
That's not talked about at all.
No. And what's not talked about in the Big Ten is the Big Ten is a really, really good defensive league. Let's look at the top 20 in total defense last year. This is scoring defense. Not total defense, but scoring defense.
Mm-hmm.
Ohio State was 1. Indiana was 6. Penn State was 8. Minnesota was 9. Iowa was 11. Oregon was 16. Nebraska was 17. Michigan was 19. Illinois was 31st. So it's a, would you rather have Dana Holgerson wheeling and dealing with a top 25 offense or John Butler keeping Nebraska as a top 25 scoring defense? Can't have both.
Give me Holgerson,
Okay.
because even if you fall outside the top 20 or top 25 for your scoring defense,
which would you would be then giving up 3 touchdowns a game.
Yeah. You're not falling that much further, because you look at the schedule, what are the offensive capabilities week in and week out for somebody to light you up? Like you're not looking at these every week and saying that's a team that can score 40. So if you are getting 35, you might just be saying we can outscore you.
Mm-hmm.
And our defense will make enough plays, even if they're giving up 21 to 28 a game. And I don't think they'll do that. But if it's the choices between give me Holgerson or give me Butler and the offense improving and the defense dropping, give me that improvement on the offense.
That's Caleb Henry. He's in for Matt. Jake is here as well. John Walker and Brandon Vogel coming up in the next hour. We'll be back to put a wrap on this hour. 1620 The Zone. Kellyanne texts the show about the $62 million new football stadium in Beaufort, Georgia. The school board money is insane. For that extra $2,500 each year, I should be able to have one of those high school kids mow my lawn all summer, or I should at least be able to eat the square pizzas at the cafeteria on Fridays.
Oh, if it's one or the other, give me them pizzas.
Jeff Francoeur has one of the suites at this football stadium in Beaufort.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Just every Friday gets to hang out.
Yeah, that's a hell of a recruiting tool.
What's the like unlimited food and beverage, or what are we doing here?
I don't know how that's going to work. I don't recall many high school football stadiums that have suites. They have 15 at the home of the Riolas. Does the family have a suite? I don't have any. I mean, Dayton is it. This is the last year of high school athletics.
A 1-year suite at least?
Yeah. I mean, support the program. They're making I believe they are going to stay in that part of Atlanta, even with both boys at Nebraska next year.
Get a suite for 1 year and then open it up for other people to purchase in upcoming seasons.
All right, coming up in the next hour, we'll talk to John Walker. I believe that we'll be checking in with Scott Springer, who covers the Bearcats. A month from tomorrow is Nebraska, Cincinnati, in a game that was on the schedule in 2020, and then COVID came along. And if that would have happened in 2020, it would have been Scott Frost versus Luke Fickell and the defensive coordinator at Cincinnati, Marcus Freeman.
Yeah.
But did not happen in 2020, will happen in 2025. And what will happen in 2025 in Madison? Going to be a long year. People were critiquing what Luke Fickell was wearing at his first team meeting yesterday that went viral. Was just wearing a pullover hoodie, gray pullover hoodie. No big W on it. No, none of the Paul Chris wardrobe that you would see him wear with his Wisconsin gear.
Just generic.
It's going to be a long year in Madison. Everything that Luke Fickell does, they are going to pick apart. We will talk with John Walker next. Again, I believe we'll be checking in with Scott also in this hour, and Brandon Vogel of counterread.com on the last hour of a Wednesday edition of Gary and Matt on 1620 The Zone. All right, last hour on the Wednesday, we kick it off with a Wednesday friend. Got a chance to hang out with him last week. John Walker from the Omaha World Herald joins us. Good morning.
Hello. Good morning. How are you guys?
Good. How are you doing on this fine middle of the week day?
Man, I'm good. You guys are getting my first public appearance of my vacation, so I'm honored to be here.
Well, I'm sorry. I wish we would have known that. We don't need to be bugging you on vacation.
No. That's okay. I would have slept the day away if I didn't have a reason to be up. So do you really want to sleep away your vacation? I certainly don't.
No, okay. Are you going anywhere?
Where's the
exciting?
vacation? What are we doing?
Yeah, no, it's mostly a staycation. As you guys probably know, I don't know when to take time off. Not in my blood. So no, I had a little bit of quite a bit of PTO to kill before we really get into some stuff, and there's just no opportunity to use it. So yeah, just a staycation really. I'll go down to Kansas City this weekend and see some family and whatnot. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Nothing too exciting. Not going anywhere.
Hey, I mentioned you and I crossed paths last week. You were over at Sapp Fieldhouse because of your schedule and, of course, your beat. You don't get to see Omaha in person. Some of your initial thoughts. I know it's summer workouts. This is the last week for Omaha, but an older team. Any initial takeaways on what you put eyeballs on of the Omaha men's basketball team?
Yeah, two things. First and foremost, it looked like they enjoyed playing with each other.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you guys know when you're speed dating in the portal, it's so hard to nail that aspect of it. It's so hard to find 15 guys who, one, can tolerate each other for an entire year, but two, actually want to play with each other, want to be with each other for an entire year. And it seems like Chris Crutchfield nailed that part of their portal process. Obviously, a lot of it helps that you return three starters. So you have that continuity from last year's team that made the NCAA tournament. But it looks like they enjoy being around each other. And that's huge in today's era.
Yep.
And then secondly, it does not look like a team that lost its two best players and is trying to piece itself together, really. I'm not saying that there's a one-for-one replacement for J.J. White. I'm certainly not saying there's a one-for-one replacement for Markel Sutton. But, you know, when we sat there and watched them for a little over an hour, never at any point were you like, oh, boy, like this could be rough. No, it just seemed like a veteran group, because it is, that is buying into the process as early as it may be. I know it's still summer. You know, everything changes when you start to win and lose in the winter. But those were my two biggest takeaways. One, it seems like a group that wants to be around each other, and two, it seems like a group that is ready to play some ball.
Yeah, they're an older group. There are 8 seniors. Lance Waddles and Tony Osborne have had a great summer. Isaac Anakane, who was great against St. John's, is in shape. His knees don't hurt. He's running the floor. He's dunking the basketball. I think it's not easy to replace a point guard, because that kind of sets you apart in the Summit League if you have a really good point guard like Omaha had with J.J. White and, of course, the player of the year in Markel. I think they are better at their top-end talent. They don't look like a Summit League team, like physically, but they do look like a Summit League team because all Summit League teams seem to have 3 or 4 shooters on the floor that can hit threes or can score at all 3 levels. And I think Omaha has a plethora of those kind of guys.
Yeah, I certainly think so. The point guard spot, as you mentioned, is obviously going to be the thing that they have to figure out. Is that Tony Osborne? Shout out Mound City. Is that Rob Matos? Shout out Malloy University.
Yes.
So they have options, and a lot of people are going to count out Rob Matos early because he's 5'9".
Mm-hmm.
Don't. The kid can ball. Like, you know, yeah, I'm not sure if you saw him practice. Like he was backpedaling in transition in a 2-on-1 last week with people who are obviously way taller than him, and he ended up blocking the shot on the way up. Like, what? He's 5'9", and he just makes up for that in so many different areas. He's so twitchy. He's so quick, especially when he has the ball in his hands. And for 5'9", like he led Malloy in free throws last year. I think he was top 10 nationally in Division II in free throw attempts last year. So he's not scared to run among the trees. He'll draw contact. He'll initiate contact. And he averaged 24 points a game a year ago. That is the interesting part that I'm curious to see how Omaha handles losing Markel Sutton and J.J. White, because you immediately lost your top two scorers. So you go get a guy like Rob Matos and obviously other people in the portal. Tony Osborne, very capable scorer. Where do those points come from? Do they say, hey, Tony, hey, Rob, we need you to do this at a point guard to replicate what JJ did? Do they go to anyone and say, hey, we need you to do this at the 4 like Markel did? Or do they try and moneyball this thing and make up for that in the aggregate? Is it a different team? Maybe they don't need to score a lot of points because they defend better than last year.
Definitely.
We'll know all of these things come, I don't know, January really is when we'll have a firm grasp on it. But I'm really excited to see what they do over at Omaha entering year 4 of the Chris Crutchfield era.
Yeah, and they returned guy that was all defensive team in Jayshawn Glover, who's been around for a while, and he looks great. Cam Thomas is back, one of the starters again. I think they're better at the top end. They just need to figure out the minutes, and they'll be tested. They open with Murray State. They got a trip out west to take on Oregon. Northern Colorado, who is in the NCAA tournament, comes to Baxter Arena. So the schedule slowly is starting to come together, and it'll be fairly challenging to get them ready for the Summit League, where it'll be St. Thomas and Omaha at the top, and then South Dakota State and South Dakota will be right in the mix as well.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, that's probably fair, right? Like there's a lot of questions because South Dakota, new coach, right?
No, same coach, but they lost some guys, so they've kind of
South Dakota State.
State.
Sorry.
Hendo went to Drake, and then his top assistant Brian Peterson took over.
Right. So it'll be interesting. Like the summit's kind of a grind in its own right. Like we saw that last year. St. Thomas was obviously good enough to win the league. And I know Omaha eventually won it outright. Duh. But like you had one of the best teams in the league that couldn't even go to the tournament, So like they were still that good and they were unmotivated, really. Like, so no, it's going to be a grind. And it's weird to think that we're less than 100 days away now.
Well, 96 to be exact.
That still feels like a long ways out. But what the little bit you were able to obviously see the team, but just what do you feel about the urgency and the mentality of the program to follow up an historical season and prove that it wasn't just a one-off here at the Division I level to get to the tournament?
You cut out. Could you repeat the first half of that again? So sorry.
No. Yeah, it's almost 100 days out as we're going to continue to. That's just a good round number. But the little bit you're able to see and get the feel for the program on the urgency and mentality to prove that it wasn't a one-off last year.
Yeah, somebody had asked him about the trash cans. I think somebody had asked Crutch about the trash cans, and he was like, "That was last year." And I talked to Rob Matos personally, and he said the same thing. He was like, I know that they had the trash cans and whatnot last year, and if that's what happens again, I'd love to beat up a trash can, but like that was last year. So I think they all kind of have that mentality that sure, they're so glad that they were able to climb the mountain last year, and now it's about climbing it again. So I think the urgency that is there. I think the mindset is there. I think Chris Crutchfield told us everything we needed to know and how he constructed this roster. He didn't go get a few pieces to build with for the future. No. they went and got a bunch of upperclassmen and returned a bunch of upperclassmen so that they could go compete again to get back to the NCAA tournament.
Let's talk about, and coaching staffs are expanding. And if I was somebody looking to get a bump in the college basketball world, I would bug the heck out of Mac to see if I could get a spot, just even a little piece of a chair so I could be on his staff, because we know what his coaching tree is like. What do you think? And you've been around him and you know like how highly they think of him, but they added to the coaching staff this week. And one of the guys that might fit the role of a rising former player, Grant Gibbs, we've seen what he has done now in the NBA and doing really, really well. What do you think the trajectory is in a couple of years of Mitch Ballack as a coach?
Yeah, I could genuinely see Mitch Ballack being a head coach one day. Without a doubt, I really do. Like, one of the guys who just understands the inner workings of a program. And more than that, like, we talk about how brilliant of an offensive mind Greg McDermott is. And obviously Ryan Miller was a huge part of the offensive planning the past 2 seasons, and we all know his mind. They turned to Mitch Ballack at certain points last year, and asked for a suggestion, or Mitch would pitch a clip or a set or whatever. Like Mac has said before, that Mitch would, 2 a.m, send him 3-4 clips. Hey, I think we can do this tomorrow against Villanova, or this against St. John's, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really think it's any question what the trajectory is for Mitch Ballack. 10, 15 years from now, who knows? But there's ample reason to believe that Mitch Ballack is going to be a head coach sometime in the next decade. I really believe that. And I don't even think it'll take that long. I'm just, if the guy wants to stick around Creighton for a little bit, he's obviously, he's earned that.
He is royalty.
So I don't know exactly what he wants to do, but he's very, very capable of being a head coach one day. So I think he will be.
Oh, fantastic. Hey, you're on vacation. We're not going to keep you. We'll bug you next week. I appreciate you taking time for us, my man.
Of course.
Right.
Thanks, guys.
That's John Walker from the Omaha World Herald. See, he could have told us he's on vacation. We don't need to be bugging him. But good stuff there. So a couple of things about Omaha. Brock Scholl, who got unfortunately injured last week in the All-Star game in Lincoln, has had a really good summer, and he is the freshman from Scott. I think he's going to be a really, really good player in the Summit League. There are some that were around last year, not me, that believes that this team is more talented than last year's team.
Mm-hmm.
And there is, you asked the question about sense of urgency. There is to get back to the tournament, but also not to let the program slip.
Yeah.
Almost all the coaching staff came back. Warren Niles, who is a rising star in this business, he is now over at Drake working for Eric Henderson. But the entire staff came back. They added a really good assistant. They're going to play a competitive schedule. It's starting to come together. Like they're going to play some mid-majors that are up from where the Summit League is. But I think it's going to be an exciting year. Exciting year. In a year where they still don't have the Summit League schedule.
That's amazing to me.
Yep.
Because I want to see where are those St. Thomas games at?
Yeah, well, we're speculating that they will be CBS Sports Network games.
Yeah.
Because St. Thomas will be really, really good, and they're moving into a brand new arena.
Are they eligible now?
Yep.
Okay.
They're eligible to play this year. All right, coming up in just a moment, we're going to talk some Cincinnati football. Scott Springer, who covers the Bearcats for the Cincinnati Enquirer, actually is about to walk into practice at Cincinnati. So we're going to touch base with him. The other big news, if the Big Red preview, people want to go get a look at who's playing, who's not playing, what they look like, everybody looks like.
Get a look and a little something while you're there.
That will be the debut of alcohol sales at Memorial Stadium on Saturday night.
For football activities.
Because
there were alcohol sales for, I believe, volleyball day in Nebraska and the concert, whatever. But for football, it's a new world.
So, Big Red Beer will be available coming up on Saturday night. They'll do a little test run, apparently, of how this is all going to happen for the Akron game when beer sales or alcohol sales are allowed in Memorial Stadium.
From the official Nebraska account, Go Beer Red.
We'll talk some Cincinnati football about a month out from the opener after this on 1620 The Zone. All right, month from tomorrow is Nebraska Cincinnati at Arrowhead Stadium. It's time to talk. Scott Springer, who is on the way to watch the Bearcats. He is the Cincinnati beat writer from the Cincinnati Enquirer. He joins us now. Scott, thanks for your time. Welcome to Gary and Matt on 1620 The Zone in Omaha.
Thank you. I'm in the middle of the wilderness in Indiana trying to find the training camp. Actually, I know where it is, but it's like a 102-mile round trip from my house, and they're basically out the sticks. It's over the state line in Indiana, but they get secluded. They're only doing it for a week. This is something they've done for like 27 years, and they used to do as many as 3 weeks.
So it's like an on-location training camp. They're not there at the regular facility.
Right. They'll be back Sunday and Monday back at the campus. But yeah, this is something they started in like 2002, and even going back as far as Brian Kelly, he came here and he said, "Well, I don't want to do that." And then he came out here and he loved it so much that when he was at Notre Dame, he tried to steal the camp for the Irish. So Cincinnati's kept it going, but then here recently they've just built this magic new facility, indoor facility. They went without an indoor facility for 2 years because they had a practice bubble, and now they built a permanent structure, and it's got all the bells and whistles and all the fancy cold and hot tubs and things that old guys like me never saw.
What's the general feeling from the Cincinnati fan base and maybe internally in athletics that this game was supposed to be in Indianapolis, and the next thing you know, it's in Kansas City, and the majority of the fans are going to be Nebraska fans, even though technically it's a Cincinnati home game?
Well, I think your average fan, and I don't want to disparage anyone, but let's face it, there are a lot of fans that maybe aren't as educated as others. So your average fan is going, "Oh, this was a home game and they gave it away." Okay, so in big boy college athletics now, you need money to pay these folks. Last time I checked, like $20.5 million set aside. And so what this really was a money grab and a business deal. And Cincinnati looks at it as, hey, they've already got 7 other home games. Initially, the deal was done with Lucas Oil. And the way I understand it, the Arrowhead group was very aggressive in wanting a game. And obviously, Nebraska is a huge draw. And they bought out Cincinnati's deal with Lucas Oil Stadium. And so the Bearcats are going to make money off this. Now, they sure like to win the game. But on the other hand, they're going to come away with some cash here. And the upside of it, you get to pretend you're the home team. Let's face it, there's going to be Huskers fans there. Way more red than red and black. But financially, they come away okay. And if you win it, then that's a bonus. And I think that's the way this game is looked at.
On the financial side, where does Cincinnati fit in on the move up to the Big 12 and the NIL, and then now moving into the rev share era?
Well, it's not like Lubbock because, Lubbock's a great town and a nice place. Not a whole I've been to the Buddy Holly Museum. That's cool. But yeah, there's no former player, billionaire oil magnate that's throwing money left and right. Actually, their biggest donor is the guy that they named this new facility after. So I think they have enough money to keep afloat and everything. And they're trying to be competitive and look at ways to make money, like, for instance, this game. But I'd say they're middle of the pack, basically, when you look at some of the big halves in college football. And Texas Tech has certainly jumped to the top of the pack in the Big 12 with all their money. So we'll see how they do. Money doesn't always buy everything. I'll alert everyone to that, because you're still having to take a bunch of guys that were somebody's somewhere else and then get them to all buy into what you're doing. And my question with all this is, when you're having a good many players that probably are making more than some of your assistant coaches, how are they going to take the coaching? So you're either hungry and want to make it, or you've got a lot of cash and you have an inflated opinion of yourself, and you're probably not going to make it if that's the way you think.
Scott Springer from the Cincinnati Enquirer, old school radio guy. You tell it like it is. We watched the Big 12 Media Days, and Scott Satterfield said, "This is our best team since I've been here, top to bottom." Do you believe that, or was that to just kind of quell everyone? I know we're 8-16, but we're going to be better. How did you take it when he made that comment?
Well, it's a little bit of both, but I mean, honestly, it sure looks like the best team that they put together. Now, you're looking at Cincinnati playing Cincinnati. I'm going to see guys go out here going against each other. So the Nebraska game will be telling, and they'll get to see, how they stack up against a Big Ten opponent, and then how things are going to go down. But yeah, the guys they've got in, they look better. And then I know from a strength and conditioning aspect and speed and all that, they're bigger and faster and stronger. And they've got some new offensive linemen. They lost 3 guys to the NFL, but the guys that they brought in seem to fit the part. There was a guy I talked to, a defensive back yesterday. They got from Coastal Carolina, Matthew McDoom, a cornerback, and they use this catapult system to time how they run. And so he times out at like 23 miles per hour, which obviously that's a few miles more than me. But yeah, that equates to like a 4.22 40 or something like that. So so they've got faster guys. And again, I think just like every other team, though, it's a matter, can you get everyone to get on this page here that came from other places? So it's either an opportunity for these guys that maybe were at bigger schools and wanted to advance to make a name for themselves. And if they don't, then everybody jumps back in the portal. You reshuffle the deck again. But it seems to be the best team that they've assembled now, because it's all, anymore. I wonder why you would bother redshirting anyone on purpose, because you're basically developing somebody else's talent.
Yep.
With that talent on paper, as you look at this preseason camp heading into Kansas City, and then obviously the rest of the season, because whatever happens there isn't going to impact the Big 12 season for the Bearcats. What do you need to see from this team heading into the season to have some confidence that they are going to get that first winning season under Satterfield and really start turning things up in the Big 12?
Well, it's pretty simple. You need to finish games, and that's what destroyed them last year. You're 5-2, and then you drop the next 5. And then the one that really hurt was your second game of the year. You're playing Pitt, and Pitt turned out to have a decent record, but they're beating Pitt 27-6 and blew the lead and lost 28-27 last second field goal. And there were some missed field goals, some other things in there. And Cincinnati had every chance in the world to still win that game, but you didn't win. And that one really came back to bite you, because that would have been win number 6 in the end, even if they blew the rest of the games. So you have to win those games, and you got to win the close games. And then over 2 seasons, in year 1, they only won 3. But if you were to go back and look at it, I think there were like 5 games decided within 7 points or less, something like that. A lot of very, very close games. There was a 3-point loss to Baylor at home. There was a 2 or 3 point loss to UCF at home. Very, very winnable games. Went to BYU, lost by a touchdown there. That was within grasp. And just the bottom line, you gotta know how to finish a game, and that goes for basketball too. But yeah, football wise, that's the biggest red mark I've seen with this team is, finish what you started. And, you never want to lose the game or you're up 27-6 late in the third quarter. That's just painful.
Scott Springer from the Cincinnati Enquirer joining us. It's kind of interesting. They've done a good job of producing NFL defensive backs, and now they're on a nice little run of tight ends. And Joe Royer, who started in the Big Ten at Ohio State, all Big 12 last year, really, really good. People are going, you know what? He's doing Travis Kelce numbers from 2012, but his quarterback is back. One thing I noticed watching Cincinnati last year, along with what you just laid out about the close losses, is Brennan Sorsby good quarterback, good legs, but there was not an explosive part of that offense. I think Cincinnati was 129th in FBS in explosive passing. Has that changed this year where they'll be able to move down the field through the air?
I think that was one of the things they were after. They thought they needed to have more explosiveness in the wide receivers. And your top receiver last year, he was Xavier Henderson, who was a Florida transfer. Did a decent job, but I think at the combine ran like a 4.7 or something like that. So wasn't necessarily a speedster. So they've gone out and they've gotten some more speed on the end. And the guys that are running right now are all transfers. And one that's really stood out is this kid from Lindenwood. Now, I might not have been able to tell you where Lindenwood was, apparently somewhere in Missouri. But this kid is he's 6'5" and he's fast. He did a broad jump of 11.9. Now, I can't tell you the last time I did a broad jump. It was probably at a junior high PE test or something like that. But apparently it was 11.9 would have been the best at the combine. So it's a 6'5" guy that with some speed that can go up and get it. Cyrus Allen was at Texas A&M, Caleb Goody, Colorado State, a handful of other guys that are in that mix, but they all appear to be faster. And then you're going to have new running backs too. Evan Pryor is back from last year. He was kind of an alternative to Corey Kiner, and Kiner's now with the 49ers. Pryor was from Ohio State. Kind of a home run guy that they could throw in and he'd rip off a 50, 60-yard touchdown every now and then. So he's in the mix. And then the guy that they got out of the portal was from Wisconsin, and Tawi Walker, 894 yards, 10 touchdowns, caught some passes, got some tree trunk legs, man. It reminded me, now this, you've mentioned that I'm old, so not quite Earl Campbell legs, but awfully close.
I don't think those were the words exactly that Gary, but Lindenwood, by the way, St. Louis area. I know that one. I can help with that one.
Yeah.
So folks in Lincoln are pretty excited about the potential for Nebraska's offense this fall, and obviously it's going to start in Kansas City. Tell me a little bit about the Bearcats defense and the changes for this fall for them.
The main changes are in the secondary because they got some new kids. They got a couple from last year that they really wanted, and then they went in the portal and they got the McDoom from Coastal Carolina. There's Christian Harrison from Tennessee. Xavier Williams, an interesting player. He came from Middle Tennessee State, but at one time was a quarterback at UCF. So that gives you a different mix and a different look back there. And coaching change back in the defensive secondary and special teams. The linebackers are all back, and they're excited about that. One of the defense where you had a bunch of injuries is a lot of young guys got to play. So there's some guys that played as true freshmen that they're excited about, but they're still kind of on the cusp. Juwan Sanks is one that'll start at their start position, the hybrid type thing. But the best news so far, and it's knock on wood, the defensive line was a mess last year because they had so many injuries. And Dante Corleone they had found blood clots in his lungs over the summer, and he was held out of workouts. He missed the first game and didn't play until the Pitt game, but still didn't get all the camp workout and everything. So he's got a clean bill of health. He played ball last year, but still now he's got like all the training, all this camp. Talked to him yesterday, feels like $1 million, and he's another one with a decent NFL shot. Nose tackle guy. The deal with him, he gets double and triple teamed a lot, so the numbers don't really wow you. But if you don't do that, he'll find a way because he's pretty effective. It's like trying to move just a concrete block. He's 6'1" and 330. Massive hands, feet, scary guy, eats 2 and 3 steaks at a time. And then they on either side of him are two guys that would have played last year. Jalen Hunt, Micah Coleman was a transfer they brought in from Eastern Michigan. Those three would have started, and I don't think at any one point last year those three were on the field at all because Coleman missed the season. Hunt missed most of the season, and so they're excited that they have a healthy defensive line, and so far they think it's one of the best ones they've had in recent years. So Yeah, I know we're all talking on paper and looking at Phil Steele numbers and things like that. But and by the way, you really need a microscope for Phil's.
Yes, you do.
I mean, I got bifocals and I've had like 2 detached retinas. It's all I can do to decipher that thing. It is very effective, though.
Scott, we appreciate it. Safe travels out to camp, and we hope to see you in Arrowhead in a month, my friend.
I'll be there, and I've arrived. I've got my sunscreen on, and now I'm going to go out and roast.
Hey, thanks, Scott.
Thanks, Scott.
All right, see you guys.
That's Scott Springer from the Cincinnati Enquirer, the beat writer for the Cincinnati Bearcats.
Can you guys get him weekly?
I just think
I like chatting with him.
So we've been going back and forth for a couple of days here, and he said, "Yeah," he goes, "I'm an old radio guy." He goes, "I said sports talk," and he goes, "No," he goes, "I used to spin hits."
Nice.
And I was like, okay. Something to keep in mind about their defense that he was saying there at the tail end. So Satterfield hired Tyson Veet, who was an assistant defensive coordinator, linebacker coach at Iowa State.
Mm-hmm.
And, Iowa State, for the most part under Matt Campbell, has had really good defenses. And he brought the 3-3-5 stack defense. And with all those injuries last year, I mean, they were a bottom 25 in Satterfield, or before Satterfield got there. Then they made the transition. They were kind of average last year. So if they are healthy to begin the year, be interesting to see how well their defense plays. I think this is going to turn out to be a good opening opponent for what the challenges will be for Nebraska. But you think there are some unknowns on Nebraska. It just sounds as Scott was talking more and more. There are a lot of great unknowns. Like Cincinnati might be the team that when you get them on the schedule, August 28th, first game of the year. Like when we look at Cincinnati, when they play at KU on September 27th, they may look like a different team.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And like we know that we're looking at what are the questions that Nebraska needs to answer in Arrowhead. Cincinnati's doing a lot of those same things. And that also creates a challenge for both coaching staffs as they try to scout and see where this game is going to go with the changes for them. And you get into the season, you hope everyone's healthy right away. So for Cincinnati, if you're healthy right away, you don't have to worry about that depth as much, and you hope you come out and strike hard and strike first.
Yeah, I think there's an important part of the schedule of when you play somebody. I mean, when Nebraska's probably going to play Michigan at the most ideal time of the year, early before Underwood gets his feet on the ground, and you play him, middle of October or later in October. That's something we'll get into with Brandon Vogel from Counter Read, who will join us next on Gary and Matt with Caleb Henry sitting in for Matt on 1620 The Zone. All right, let's welcome in our good friend from counterread.com, Brandon Vogel, on this beautiful Wednesday morning. Good morning.
Good morning, guys.
You can smell it, can't you? It's actually here in Nebraska after the heat. It's going to be a crisp, nice 75-degree day. It starts to feel like a football.
I had to put on like sleeves and like you see what you guys froze me out in here yesterday.
Yeah, it is a little cold in the studio.
What is?
We'll be hanging in here. Let's start here because Caleb and I were talking earlier. You know, you don't even bat an eye about, Nebraska will do this on offense because of Holgorsen. But there are some glaring numbers out there, and our good friend who you interact with and we all know and does a great job of helping us, Eric Stumanji. Nebraska in 2014, Brandon, 13th in the country in scoring offense, 37.8. The following year, in Rule's first year, they were 44th at 32.8. From 2016 to last year, they have never been inside of the top 50 in scoring offense. They are 103rd last year at 23.5 points per game. Holgorsen has always been high on the list of scoring offenses. How realistic is it for Nebraska to make a monster jump in terms of scoring offense in year one of a full-time Dana Holgorsen?
I think it's in play based on where Holgorsen has kind of historically been. And also, earlier in the offseason, I kind of looked at, okay, what's a realistic jump to make here? Like if you figure Nebraska needs about probably 10 more points per game, which is about where I'd put it to, I think, get where they need to be. Do teams even do that? And they do. And it often accompanies coaching changes. None of that guarantees, of course, that Nebraska will do that. But we do see it happen. It gets a little bit trickier there in terms of how it happens. I think Nebraska boosting its explosive play rate would be a big piece of it. And I think with an upgraded receiver core, that's probably the best support for that sort of path. But it's gonna be a big jump, and I've been meaning to. Maybe I'll do this for tomorrow. I haven't gone back and looked at it yet, but what even are the highest scoring Matt Rule teams? Because they don't play that kind of football, and in today's football, like if you want to be 9-3, 10-2 good, you better be scoring at least 35 points a game.
When you think about that jump, and as you said, probably need to get 10 more points, and Holgorsen, he brings with him experience with offenses that score quite a bit. And you hope that Dylan Raiola makes a jump into year two. Is it just turnovers for Raiola? And then for the rest of the offense, like where does the rest of that production come from as the expectation to put more points on the board?
Yeah. So I think, cutting down the turnovers, particularly interceptions, fumbles are fumbles. My longtime mantra has been fumbles are dumb. Like they just happen. There's not a lot you can do about them. Interceptions, you hope you do control a little bit with play selection, knowing your personnel, knowing your quarterback, and also just your quarterback's ability. So that number needs to come down for Raiola. And I think it will with kind of the passing principles that we've seen from Holgorsen offenses in the past. So you hope that helps. The red zone efficiency piece of it, which is tough to say, just be better in the red zone, because if you could do that, every coach would wave that magic wand and you just would. How do you do that? That becomes kind of a tough part to answer. I think one of the kind of hidden factors with the Holgorsen offense is Nebraska last year, and in 2023 too, was really suffered from just like dead drives. You get the ball at the 25 or 30-yard line, whatever it is, you're 70, 75 yards away from goal. If you don't get a first down, you can punt it away and hopefully play good defense, which Nebraska did a lot of time, but those things accumulate. And one of the things that I noticed earlier about Holgorsen offenses is they kind of consistently move the ball, pick up a first down or two. So then maybe if the drive stalls, you're punting from your 50 instead of your own 20 or 30.
So this is also going to be tied into defense on a chart that I know you were just tagged on a tweet from Stu Manji. So let's look at offense. Is this an offense that'll get better as the game goes along, or we'll have a quick burst in the first quarter, mid-second, and then teams adjust. How do you see it unfolding as they work their way across 4 quarters?
Yeah, that's been another kind of consistent issue with Nebraska. We saw it writ large and often in the Frost era, is that they just couldn't lean on teams, like get that lead, and kind of dictate how things were going to go. And they did a good job at coming back often. But you get to the end of the game and wonder about, well, how much work did it take to do that? So for Nebraska to get out of that, I mean, I think having a really strong play caller, which I think it's fair to call Dana Holgorsen that based on his track record, that opening script becomes really, really valuable, and starting fast. So I think this is an offense that can. I don't know if I would say it gets better as the game goes on, but I don't think there should be a significant drop off because that's part of play calling too, being able to adjust.
So what about defense? Because this chart is startling. Is good first quarter under Matt Rule in the first 2 years with Tony White, but it drops as you get to the second, the third, and the fourth quarter has been, and these are eliminated. I think the garbage numbers are taken out of these equations. The fourth quarter has been rough. For example, yards per carry, 3.7 in the first quarter. And these are over the last 2 years. It jumps up to 4.94 in the fourth quarter. Yards per attempt passing, 7.16 in the first quarter, jumps up to 7.98. What do you think has happened with defense? Whereas the game goes on, they struggle as we get to the second, the third, and the fourth quarter. And do you think there's a fix in that if they're cognizant of these numbers?
Yeah, everything with football when you really dig into it ends up being kind of tough to totally assess because there's so many variables there. But I do think some of that is probably tied to offense. Not to take it back there, but Nebraska just kind of struggling to put up points. And struggling to consistently move the football eventually takes its toll on our defense. And that's kind of how I remember the first 2 Matt Rule years of a defense that played great, played better than I certainly thought they would in 2023, and 2024 was about where I thought it was fair to expect. But having an offense that kind of is boom or bust and prone to turnovers, and having special teams that really didn't offer you an advantage. Like, how many teams can you ask, even a very good defense, to go out there and be like, okay, save us again? And that really felt like what it has been like watching Nebraska over the past 2 years. So that's my initial theory, without having had the chance to dig into it a little bit more. Is it might just be a little bit of a fatigue thing, but again, we talked about it with Holgorsen. Tony White, obviously very, very good in his 2 seasons, good enough that Florida State came and plucked him away. It comes down to adjustments and play calling as well. And I think back to that Indiana game where Nebraska just got destroyed, and I really feel like that was kind of the first game of the Rule era where I was like, oh, that they just got beat on the sidelines on that one, in addition to being beat on the field.
I'm glad you brought up Tony White because we've talked a lot about the change in coordinator at offense and special teams, but what are your expectations for the John Butler-led Black Shirts?
I don't know what to expect, to be honest, because there's not a lot to go on. I think Matt Rule has consistently said, and he said this even when it looked like Tony White might leave after year 1 and then didn't, of like, look, I got this. We're going to have a good defense. And I do think there's some truth to that. I think if you look across college football, the coaches that can kind of hire, Ryan Day would be an example in terms of going out prior to last season, or recently, I guess he'd been there a couple of years, getting Jim Knowles. Like, I think there's more value to having your best coordinator opposite of whatever your head coach's expertise is. And there are examples that prove that, and there are examples that contradict that, of course. But I think when you have a coach who kind of has a specialty, like, that can only help that side of the ball. And it makes me think that I expect some sort of drop off for Nebraska defensively this season. It can't be very big because as we noted at the start, they got to boost that point total. So anything defense drops takes away from that. But I would expect Nebraska to be a solid like top 30, top 40 defense again, just based on Matt Rule's track record. And if Butler adds something to that, then maybe expectation can be even higher.
What's an expectation for a Deshaun McCullough stat line after 12 games?
12 games. I mean, there's a lot of TFLs to replace from the guys that tallied a bunch of those last year, and he can't get all of those. But I think you're hoping he's a 10 TFL 5.5 sack type of guy like that. That's a good season. And he hasn't done that in his career, and as Coach Rule has noted, and guys like us have all talked about, he's moved around a bunch, so you hope some clarity can help him with that, because the physical tools certainly seem to be there. And you look back at that true freshman season at Indiana, it was pretty promising. And then he chose to change schools and got moved around a bit, and we'll see what happens. But Nebraska needs that kind of 10 TFL guy somewhere, and I think he's a realistic bet.
Back to the offense, have we ignored Ja'Cory Barney too much when looking at what this fall is with all of the guys that have come in on offense and the expectations for Dana Holgorsen and Dylan Raiola? And obviously we chatted with Emmett Johnson earlier this week.
Yeah, maybe. I think so. He's a name who kind of comes up frequently, I think, in that context, or at least has to this point. It's a little bit different now. We got practices and new information, so that's all good. If he has kind of the progression you expect of, okay, you're this as a freshman, it should be a little bit better. The big thing for him, and comes down to how you want to measure it, yards per catch or yards per target. Like, Nebraska really worked hard to get him the football, and it paid off. So can he add that kind of extra element of, okay, now it's not just we'll get it to you within 3 yards of the line of scrimmage, but you're a bigger factor kind of down the field and in more traditional route structures that I think becomes the key piece.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. I appreciate the conversation as always. We're just getting started. A couple of more Wednesday chats, and we'll be on to the season. And I know you guys are ramping it up at counterread.com. So I appreciate it as always, my friend.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
That's Brandon Vogel from counterread.com. The Substack, which is a must subscribe to.
I love it. I love it.
Monday, Wednesday, Friday in the off season. Now it's going to pick up every morning at 6 a.m. I told him, can we do it at 5 so I can read it before I get on the air?
Instead of going, all right, first break or during the first segment.
Yeah. Good stuff there. There are more numbers that we'll sift through. Again, no media availability today. Dana Holgorsen, whose son just joined the coaching staff in the front office, so to speak. He'll meet the media tomorrow. And the head coach doesn't speak until we're drinking beer in Memorial Stadium on Saturday night.
Yes, the Big Red preview after Fan Day. You can go hit Fan Day and then go from the Hawks over to Memorial Stadium, grab a beer and watch a little practice.
Yeah, so that'll be the next time that the head coach talks, and he usually talks about personnel. That doesn't leave that up to anybody else. So that'll come up on Saturday. What's coming up next? We'll go out to Werner Park. The Connor Happer Show is live before the Storm Chasers and the Louisville Bats that play a nooner. So the Happer Show is out there. Crossover's coming up next. We'll see you on Friday. Thank you, Caleb.
Yes. I always enjoy it.
Friday, Mike Schaefer is in tomorrow for the vacationing Matt. Jake, we'll see you again tomorrow.
Yep.
I'm Gary. Gary and Matt back tomorrow at 6. Crossover's coming up next.